Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto nearly dies. Hiruzen then makes a promise to never allow anyone to hurt and decides to act like a true Kage he was before part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. In a training ground, a blonde spiky 5-year-old haired boy with blue ocean eyes and whiskered birthmarks on each cheek is wearing a black shirt with a red leaf symbol, blue shorts, and gray sandals pants. This boy is Naruto Uzumaki. He screams in pain as he just got punched hard in the left side of his face, causing the blonde's jaw to break at the sheer force of the strike. Naruto hits the ground hard with his face buried in the dirt. Naruto breathes hard. Man with spiky black hair and a beard picks Naruto up by his head. He cast a fireball jutsu hitting Naruto in the back. The blonde slowly gets up looking at the Jounin with fright in his eyes. This Jounin is Asuma Sabutobi, son of Hiruzen Sabutobi, the Sandaime Hokage. Asuma glares at Naruto with hates. He click his tongue. "I don't know why dad keeps a monster like you alive after you called my mom you demon," yelled Asuma in hate. Naruto coughs out blood and looks up at Asuma with tear coming down his eyes. I never killed anyone," sniffled Naruto. He tries to get up, but a Hyuga hits him from the back with an 8-palm strike. "White demon Brad, unlike Sandaime we won't fall for your tricks," said Hyuga glaring at Naruto. Naruto attempts to get up and run but finds he can't run. Naruto then starts to crawl and escape, but luck isn't on the blonde's side. "I sealed the chakra points to your spine, you can't move, now let's play dunk," said in a dark tone. Naruto shakes head and "No, I don't want to," exclaimed Naruto with fear in his voice. He struggles to try to get out of the Hyuga's grip, but Naruto is then punched in the stomach by Choza Akimichi, member of Shinobi Council and father of Choji. Choza glares at Naruto in hate. He was one of the people who wanted Naruto executed the night of Kyuubi attack, but the Sandaime wouldn't allow him and the others to execute Naruto, but now here's his chance. "Scum like you don't have a say in it after all the people you killed, Kyuubi," said Choza. He then punches Naruto causing his skull to crack. Then grabs Naruto Day's body over to the lake. He then dumps Naruto face in the water, drowning Naruto. It then clicks in the blonde's head. He's being drowned as hard as he can. Naruto can't get himself free. After a minute brings Naruto up to surface with Naruto breathing hard. Choza, the citizens, ninjas, and Asuma look towards "Remember, we want him alive, he wasn't suffer yet," said Choza. Nods his head. "Yes, of course, Choza-sama," said He then dunks Naruto back in the water. He repeatedly did this for until 20 minutes. Another citizen by the name of Yumineko. She runs a meat store selling meat to the people. She's 37 years old and large. Smiles at the large woman. Yumineko grabs Naruto's neck, strangling him. She then dunks Naruto into the water. "This happened for an hour." "Yumineko, that's enough, we still have other ways of torturing the brat," said Asuma. The woman nods her head, pulling out Naruto from the water, who's going to be unconscious if he stayed underwater for too long. Asuma grabbed Naruto by his arm, dragging the blonde Jinchuriki through the dirt field. Asuma then kicks Naruto in the ribs, causing him to groan in pain. Naruto looks up, but his face gets meated with a boot from an Anbu, breaking Naruto's nose. "Do you have any idea how annoying it was watching you? I swear I was hoping the Sandaime would order, but it never happened. It seemed like it's up to us to get rid of the demon that has plagued our good village," said the Anbu as he and 5 other beat and cut Naruto with their fists and swords. The only response the blonde Jinchuriki gave is his screams for pain. "DL, please stop," choked out Naruto with his face black and blue. The Anbu didn't say anything. A female Anbu picked Naruto up and threw him, making Naruto land face first. Asuma goes through hand signs. "Fire release. Dragon missile bomb, Kaiten. Dorga Miseru Bakuden," yelled Asuma, shooting a large white flame dragon head at Naruto. An Anbu with gravity defy hair with a black and Sharingan eyes raised his hand, lighting release. "Running thunder wolf ration rare mo jikmshimasu," yelled dog Anbu. Fire off a blue lightning running wolf with pink eyes. When both Dragon Head and Running Wolf come in contact, they combine into a Fire Lightning Wolf. The Inu Anbu glares at Naruto. "This is for Minato-sensei, bastard," yelled Inu Anbu. The combination of fire and lightning hit Naruto. An explosion of fire and thunder goes off along with the painful yells of Naruto Uzumaki at being burnt and electrocuted. Within the Hokage office, Hiruzen Sabutobi, the Sandaime Hokage and student of the Shodai and Nidaime Hokages Hashirama Senju and Tobirama Senju. But this night has the aged Okai worried, not because of the never-ending paperwork, but because it's October 10, the night of the Kyuubi attack and death of the Yondaime Hokage Minato Namikaze. The aged Kage still couldn't quite understand why Kyuubi was released. He knew Kushina wouldn't do it on purpose, and it had to be someone, not just any someone but a powerful Uchiha. But there was no Uchiha within the village who is strong enough to control Kyuubi, which made Hiruzen believe it had to be an Uchiha from outside of Konoha. But this day isn't just the day Kyuubi attacked and the death of Minato. No, this was also the day of Naruto Uzumaki, or Naruto Namikaze, was born, lost his parents, and became a Jinchuriki of Kyuubi no Kitsune. On this day villagers and shinobi would always acted up and try to hurt Naruto, someone who he saw as family. As Hiruzen goes over paper he hears a screeching sound. Hiruzen turn his head and his window fully cracked. Hiruzen narrows his eyes at this. Most wouldn't pay much attention to it, but Hiruzen saw this as a bad omen. Hiruzen pulls out his pipe and starts smoking it. Hiruzen then pulls out a crystal ball. Naruto-kun, where are you my boy, please be safe, said Hiruzen with a distressed tone. After 3 minutes he couldn't find the blonde Uzumaki anywhere. God damn it. I don't like this, cursed Hiruzen. He then massages his temple. Nico, Raven, Crow, Tenzo, I have a mission for you, ordered Hiruzen with his voice cold. Poor Anbu dropped in front of Hiruzen, kneeling before him. Nico is a female Anbu who has straight purple hair, Raven is a male who has curly straight spiky hair, Crow is a male Anbu who has long black hair kept in a ponytail, and Tenzo is a male with brown spiky hair. The mission I have for you is to find Naruto Uzumaki. I fear something horrible is happening to him. Find the child. If you find anyone who has harmed him, bring them in so they may get punished, ordered Hiruzen, narrowing his eyes. Each Anbu nod their heads. Yes Hokage, same, said the Anbu. They shunship away looking for Naruto Uzumaki. When they leave Hiruzen grits his teeth in frustration. Itachi-kun, Shisui-kun, Tenzo, Yuago-chan, please find Naruto Uzumaki. Minato, Kushina, please forgive because I have a feeling I have just failed protecting your son, said Hiruzen as he looks towards the picture of Minato. But Naruto now has 3rd degree burns with his clothes torn up. If being burned wasn't bad enough, then getting stabbed with a pitchfork was a helk. The burn Naruto pants in exhaustion. He looks up seeing the citizen who stabbed him with a pitchfork. Naruto falls to the ground. The citizen then kicks Naruto. Rough eye brat, get up, yelled the citizen. He then grabs onto Naruto's burned hair. I said get up brat, yelled the citizen. Just as Naruto looks up he throws a handful of dirt in the citizen's eyes. Naruto then wobbles back and forth. He rough pulls out the pitchfork, letting out a scream. With the pitchfork in his hand Hours glares at the blinded citizen. I pant, I'm not a pant demon pant, I am Naruto. Cough Uzumaki cough Dadabeo, yelled Naruto. He then stabs his torturer with the pitch, piercing his heart. You damn. Before he could finish his sentence he falls dead. But unfortunately for Naruto, him defending himself only angered the mob even more. The demon has struck again. Quick, kill the monster before it decides to eat our children, yelled an ignorant villager. Crap, cursed Naruto. Before he knew it Naruto was slashed twice above his eyebrow and across his nose by Asuma and Inu Anbu. Naruto lets out a blood-hurtly scream. Inu grabs Naruto by his hair, glaring at Naruto. The blonde glares back at Naruto. I don't like that look brat, and I don't like your eyes boy, said Inu Anbu. He pulled out a kunai, raising it above Naruto's right eye. As much as Naruto tried he couldn't get out the grasp of the Anbu agent. Inu plunges the kunai in Naruto's left eye. Naruto lets out a bloody scream in pain, with his face covered in the mix of blood and tears. The blood then blinded Naruto's right eye, making the son of Yondaime temporary blind. Naruto hold both of his eyes in pain. My eye, you ripped my eye out you bastard, yelled Naruto in pain. Out of all the pain he had, this had to be the worst. Why is this happening to me? Did I do something bad to get this kind of treatment? Thought Naruto, who's in agonizing pain. But Nico, Raven, Crow, and Tenzo, the Foud Anbu, are standing on the Hokage mountain to get a clear view of the village. Both Raven and Crow have their Sharingan activated. Nico looks towards Raven. Captain Raven, what do we do? We can't just search through the village randomly until we find, asked Nico. Raven nods his head, agreeing with her. Nico, right you are. We are on a time limit. The more we wait there's more of a higher chance young Naruto's life is danger. Here's the plan. You and Tenzo will make as many clones as you, searching for places where Naruto might be and where the citizens or shinobi might take him. Crow and I will search high with both of our summons, said Raven. Both Tenzo and Nico created 5 shadow clones and searched his apartment, Ichiraku Ramen, the playground, red light district, and various of training grounds. Summoning jutsu, yelled Raven and Crow. In a large cloud of smoke 20 crows and ravens appeared. Out of all the birds there were a raven and crow the size of a full-grown bear. Raven looks at his animal. Summon Kuchibashi, Beak, he is the boss of the Raven family. It's good to see you again Kuchibashi-sama, said Raven. Crow gazes at his boss. Summon Such plus Ruwa, Steel Feather, she is the boss of the Crow Summon clan. Hello lady Such plus Ruwa, said Crow Anbu, bowing his head in respect. Both birds nod their head. Itachi, Shisui, why have you summoned the both of us? Asked Kuchibashi, staring at the 2 Uchiha males. We need both of you and the rest of you to help us track down a child. This child is Naruto Uzumaki, son of the late Yondaime Minato Namikaze, and Konoha's Red Death Kushina Uzumaki, and the resident Kyuubi Jinchuriki. We believe that the citizen and ninjas of Konoha are somewhere within the village torturing the young child. Would you help us Kuchibashi-sama, lady Such plus Ruwa? Asked Shisui. Both giant birds narrow their black coal eyes. Very well Itachi, Shisui, we will help you, but from what you say time as of the essence, we leave now, ordered Such plus Ruwa. Both Uchihas got on their respected boss and the 2 birds quickly took off from the sky, with the other birds flying around the village, searching for the blonde Uzumaki. With Naruto. Naruto pants from exhaustion, his body slowly heals the shuriken that was thrown a group of Chunin ninjas. As Naruto tries to keep his breathing normal, he holds his broken arm that was broken by a female Uchiha who threw a earth release. Rock gunshot, Doten Rakujusei, at his arm breaking his right arm, but Kyuubi is healing Naruto's right arm. A shinobi goes through multiple hand signs water release. Turtle slash spout, Suiten T Tor Surasu Sapato. Yelled the shinobi shooting a blassie of water that has the shape of a turtle's head. Inu Anbu slams his hand on the ground. I'll make you regret the day you attack Konoha. This is for Lady Kushina earth release. Muddy Kanonbal Doten Madi Kayanamburito, yelled Inu Anbu firing a large ball that's the size of a boulder. The large mud hit Naruto in TH's chest, causing him to hit his back against a tree. The water turtle nails Naruto, forcing Naruto to break through the tree. Naruto spits out blood, groaning in pain, feeling like his ribs were broken, which they were before the child can even get his bearings. Inu charges at Naruto with his Tanto. Due to the Anbu moving at high jounin speed, Naruto didn't even see Inu charge at him, as Inu swings his blade at Naruto. Naruto moves his arm in a defensive pose. The next thing Naruto knew, his whole left arm was cut cleaned off. The only thing you're able to hear in the dead of night is screams of a child whose horrible agonizing pain and metal cutting through bone. To Inu it was fast like a blink of the eye, but for the son of the yellow flash, Kairoi Senkim, it happened in slow motion. The sharp deadly sword ascend to his left arm and cutting his arm off. For Naruto, the sword cutting his whole arm felt like forever, but actually it was only seconds, his left arm being cut off. Naruto falls to his knees holding onto the short bloody stump of his left arm, with tears running down the right side of his face. Naruto looks back in terror with a frightened, horrified look, staring at the 40 citizens and shinobi glaring at him with their hateful eyes. It then hits Naruto. He finally realized these people, no monsters, didn't want to torture him. No, what they truly wanted to do to him is to kill him. They were going to kill him. Naruto turned his back and run as fast as his little legs could run. Gotta run. Gotta run. Thought Naruto. He then turned his head, seeing the citizen running after him, calling for his blood. Come on, move, Naruto. Yelled mentally, but it seems like God wasn't being forgiving for the blonde child. Asums with his trench knife raised snarled in anger at the blonde trying to escape. Oh no, you don't gaki wind release. Crested moon cutter, Futen Karesatedomkankat, yelled Asuma, slashes his trench knife, creating a crested moon, the wind release. Crested moon cutter cuts Naruto's left leg off, cutting his whole leg off, only leaving half of the thigh. MMILL leg. Exclaimed Naruto, but even though he just lost his left leg, Naruto still tries to hoop away from the cruel people of Konoha. But Shisui and Itachi, as the two flew around, they see a large commotion at training ground 16, both Uchihas narrows their eyes at the large group. Itachi puts his hand on his calm. Tenzo, Nico and Raven have found a large group at training ground 16, meet us there. Ordered Itachi. Yuago knows her head. She ordered her clones to hurry and go to training ground 16 right away. Crow. Said Nico. Yes sir. Said Tenzo. Him and his wood clones leave to training ground 16. With Naruto then continues to struggle and walk away or hoop away in his case, but the Uchiha woman wanted him to suffer. She slams her hands on the ground. Kuku, your suffering isn't done yet. Earth release. Stone-edged disc of flying fury. Doten Furaingu Ikra plus no Sutnajitasuku. Yelled a female Uchiha in a crazed tone. A disc of stone cuts through Naruto's right leg, cutting above his knee. Before Naruto knew it, he was on the ground face first with no legs. The blonde then let out a cry of terror and horror, but Crow, Raven, Nico, and Tenzo arrive, and they are horrified. Nico has a lone tearing coming down from her face. This isn't right, no one should be treated like this. Thought Nico. She then walks forward at seeing an Anbu walking towards him. Naruto closes his eyes, getting ready for his time. Nico pats his head. Softy, I'm not gonna hurt you, we're here to protect you, I promise. Said Nico in a kind soothing voice. Before Naruto can even say anything, he blacks out from loss of blood. Tenzo glares at the Zrul people. Nico, hurry and take Naruto to the hospital. Ordered Tenzo. The female Anbu picks up Naruto and shunship him to the hospital. Tenzo, the wood clones, Raven, Crow, and the Nico glares at people. You're all under arrest for attempting manslaughter and torturing a child. Yelled Tenzo. The Anbu ignore the outburst from citizen and shinobi. We were avenging Yondaime. Yelled a Chunin shinobi. Tozo glares at the Anbu. The Kyuubi deserves to die. Yelled Choza. The Uchiha glares at both Raven and Crow. You two are traitors. PF the Uchiha clan, how can you forgive it when it's the cause of people blaming us? Yelled the Uchiha. Inu glares at the Anbu. How could you protect it when it has killed so many people, especially when it killed our Yondaime? My sensei. Yelled Inu. The Crow, Raven, Tenzo, and the Nico clones just ignore them or didn't want to hear what a bunch of cruel, cold-hearted people had to say for their unspeakable crime. Crown and Raven closed their eye and opened them again. Having both Sharingan and Mangekyo eyes, activated Sharingan Jinjutsu. Realm of the Dream King Technique, Sharingan Jinjutsu. Door plus Mukingu no Rirumu Jutsu, whispered Crow. Mangekyo Sharingan Jinjutsu. Timeless leap of the Sandman, Mangekyo Sharingan Jinjutsu. Sando man no tame your SSR plus poo. Whispered Raven with having his Mangekyo before the citizen can do anything half of them became unconscious and fell, while the other's body became numb and fell. You should all be ashamed. Growled Raven he then turned his attention to Tenzo. Tenzo do you believe you can create a prison for each of them? Asked Raven. Tenzo nods his head, but he was sighing knowing this will tire him out. He then looks at Inu in disappointment. Captain Kakashi, Chozo, Asuma you idiot. Said Tenzo. Pro knurls before the female Uchiha and glares at her. Chmwa you idiot. Naruto isn't a demon you people are. Said Crow in a cold tone void of any emotion. He then steps back allow Tenzo to get to work. Tenzo slam his hand on the ground would release. Multiple imprisonment cage of omens, Mokuten Zench no Fukusk no Kanken cage I, yelled Tenzo sedenti wooded cuffs the people's hands, feet, and necks a small wooden cage forms around then a wooden chain, then connects to every cage. Tenzo lets out a large pant it's pant done. Said Tenzo. Great let's take these people to the prison and inform Hokage-sama. Said Raven Thry each nod their heads each of them grab a cage and shunship towards the torture and interrogation prison. With Naruto. As Nico carries the dying Naruto to the hospital she kicks open the door at seeing the blonde Jinchuriki the nurse was about let out an angry outburst of attending a demon. But Nico points her tanto at the nurse's neck. If you wish to live then don't break Hokage-sama's law. Now take me to a doctor who will actually treat Naruto and don't keep me waiting your life depends on it. Growled Nico. The terrified nurse nods her head the nurse then leaves to get Sekiten Kujira, Cole Whale, he was a veteran medic nin from the Shinobi Third War. After the nurse leave and get a doctor who isn't ignorant, she then turn her attention on the blonde child she lets head, but soon stops when he flinches. Nico then holds up Naruto she then performs the summoning jutsu when the large kid vanishes, she is meted with a red leopard, the leopard is the size of a full-grown lion, the leopard has red fur, it has black spots over its body, on the belly it has light red fur, this leopard is Nico's summon animals the animal's name is Fyasutin, Firestone, she is also Nico's summon familiar. Fyasutin bows to Nico lady Nico what do you need? Asked Fyasutin having a gentle voice. Fyasutin I want you tell hurry over to the Hokage office and tell Hokage-sama we has found Naruto. Ordered Nico. The leopard summon nods her head and takes off with speed of high jounin. Nico hears footsteps and sees Sekiten walking fast and but where is he? Asked Sekiten, but it was more of a demand Nico turned around showing the doctor the bloody Naruto. Sekiten has a horrified expression wasting no time he grabs Naruto and rushes him off to a room Nico not far behind runs next TP him. They rush into the room Sekiten puts Naruto on the bed he then uses the mystical palm technique, Shimsen Jutsu after 20 minutes of healing Naruto, the blonde's child breathing have finally become steady. Suddenly Hiruzen storms in the room and is shocked at seeing his surrogated grandson Naruto falls to the ground, holding onto the child's right hand, when Fyasutin had told him they had found Naruto, he had all possibilities of what those heartless people did to Naruto, but he would never imagine this, to Hiruzen this was just barbaric and just plain evil. Hiruzen then grits his teeth in anger Dr. Sekiten. Said Hiruzen in a cold tone Sekiten flinch at the cold tone of the age Hokage. Why yes Hokage-sama. Said a fright Sekiten. Hiruzen glares into the wall tell me of Naruto-kun condition when he was brought to you. Said Hiruzen in a cold tone fitting of seasoned ninja. Sekiten shivers at the tone are you before the medic could finish he gets greeted with a cold-hearted glare. Sekiten then coughs nervously, I'll tell you about Naruto's condition sir, it seems like 4 of his ribs broken, 2 of his ribs were cracked, a broken nose, broken jaw, back of the skull cracked, spine cracked, fractured chest, broken shoulder, cracked wrist of the right forearm, right eye ripped out, left arm cut off, and it seems like both of his kegs were cut off Mayajutsu Hokage-sama. Said Sekiten. Hiruzen nods his head Sekiten leave. Ordered Hiruzen the doctor leaves the room leaving only an unconscious Naruto, an angry and sad Hiruzen, and Nico waiting for her leader's next orders, but inside A was horrified that people would do this to such an innocent child. Nico how many were there? Asked Hiruzen staring at the unconscious Uzumaki. 40 sir 20 citizens and 20 ninjas Hokage-sama. Said Nico with her voice void of any emotion. Hiruzen nods his head thank you Nico it's time. Stated Hiruzen. This statement confused the female Anbu agent time for what Hokage-sama? Asked Nico. Hiruzen turns to Nico giving her a cold stare I'll explain when Raven, Crow, and Tenzo get here. Said Hiruzen, but it came out as a order. Both Hiruzen and Nico then stood in silence, well Nico stood and Hiruzen was sitting next to Naruto running his hand through Naruto's blonde locks and only sound in the room is the sound of Naruto's room is his breathing and the machines. The two had stayed like this for 30 minutes, that is until Crow shunship in a flock of crows and Raven shunship without the cloud and Tenzo the 3 men bow towards Hiruzen. Hiruzen nods his head towards them good you 3 are here now tell me who is responsible for attacking Naruto-kun. Demanded Hiruzen. They each nod their head. Raven steps up. Hokage-sama, as you know there were both citizens and ninjas, but the main people who did this is Shima Uchiha, KM Hyuga, Ringu Ching, Choza Akimichi, Kakashi Haddock and Asuma Sabutobi," said Raven. Hiruzen closes his eyes hoping he just the last name he heard was due to extreme stressed he had this night. Hiruzen then messages the temple of his head, "Dear Kami, I hope I'm just getting old and didn't just hear what I thought I heard." Thought Hiruzen. After 2 minutes of silence he looked up at Raven with a cold expression void of any emotion. "Raven-san, can you please repeat the last name?" asked Hiruzen in a cold tone. Raven nods his head. "Yes, of course, Hokage-sama. The last person was Asuma Sabutobi, a member of the 12 Guardian Ninja and your son, my lord," said Raven. He, Crow, Tenzo, and Nico each felt a cold chill run down their spine. "I have a feeling after this night, everything will change for better or worse. But I just don't know how I can project Konoha or the Uchiha clan," thought Raven in a tone of distress. His fellow Anbu were having the very same thought. Hiruzen opened his brown eyes. Hiruzen then glares in the distance. He turned his head towards his Anbu. "Thank you, Raven. I will meet with my perpetrators. Raven, Crow, you will come with me," ordered Hiruzen on a cold tone, which both of the Uchihas nod their heads. "Hibi, I have mission for you, Tenzo and Nico," ordered Hiruzen. Hibi drops down bowing before Hiruzen. "What is the mission, Hokage-sama?" asked Hibi. "The mission I have is for you, Tenzo and Nico to project Naruto Uzumaki. Well, I'll see the perpetrators who's broke the law. I want you three to protect him and kill anyone who attempts to hurt Naruto," ordered Hiruzen. Hibi, Tenzo, and Nico bow towards Hiruzen. Crow and Raven walks towards Hiruzen, the age cage, then glares at Tenzo, Nico, and Hibi. Gained a cold shiver. "Don't fail me," said Hiruzen. He, Raven, and Crow shunshin out of the hospital room. The pregnant silence is released until Hibi lets out a loud sigh as she'd been unknowingly holding her breath. She then turned towards Tenzo. "Okay, Tenzo, what the hell was that about? I mean, what the fuck happened to the Gaki? For Kami's sake, he's messing both legs, an arm, an eye, and why isn't he healing? I mean, shouldn't the fox heal the 2 scars on his eyebrow and nose?" exclaimed Hibi with a tone of anger and frustration in her voice. Tenzo sighs at the loud-mouthed Anbu. He then turns towards Hibi. "Anko-san, the reason why Naruto isn't healing from his injuries is because the mental and physical pain that has been inflicted on him. If I had to guess, I would say he was tortured for hours before they decided to do this," said Tenzo, looking towards the sleeping Naruto who's wrapped in bandages. Nico then runs her hand through her purple hair. "And to answer your first question, Anko, a mob of ignorant ninjas and citizens had tried to kill him, but it seems this time they went too far," said Nico, shooting a sad glance at the injured boy. "No one deserves that. No one. I do help those bastards pay for hurting this child," thought Nico with disgusted. She knew after this ordeal she'll need a drink, which is rare since she doesn't rarely drink. Anko then grits her teeth in anger at hearing what the people of the village did to Naruto. She knew what it felt like to be hated. Since her sensei was Orochimaru, she had dealt with people trying to attack her, but she was already a trained kunoichi, so she was actually able to protect herself, but Naruto didn't have that luck. Anko turns her head and looks at Naruto sadly, but underneath her mask, she had a sad smile. She has to give the child props for not giving up once his legs were cut off. Anko then looks towards Nico. "So what do you think will happen to those bastards who did this, Yuago-chan?" asked Anko, looking at her purple-haired friend. Yuago runs her hands through her hair. "To be honest, I believe they and everyone was involved will die," said Yuago, praying that everyone, including her senpai Kakashi, dies. After all, what they did was unforgivable. Tenzo nods his head. "Yes, you must agree with Nico. Hibi, what those people did was horrible, not to mention they had not just broke the law set by the Hokage-sama, but other laws too," said Tenzo. Both purplinets nod each of their heads. Anko then shakes her head. "I still can't believe what those people did. I know Nai-chan will be shocked once she hears this," said Anko, since every jounin who knows Asuma and Kurenai knows they each have a crush on each other, which is painfully obvious. Yuago agreed with Anko since she knew of Kurenai's obvious crush. But Hiruzen, Crow, and Raven walks through the prison that's held in the Anbu office. Usually the people would be held in Yet police station in the Uchiha compound, but Hiruzen didn't want anyone to know what has happened tonight just yet. Well, Hiruzen, Crow, and Raven walks through the hallways of the prison. Crow sighs to himself in frustration and anger. How could the young Anbu not be filled with rage? He had just seen one of the worst scenes ever. Sure, he'd watch other ninjas attempted to kill each other, but this was different. You couldn't call it a fight or battle. No, what happened to Naruto was torture. Crow knew the people of Konoha hated Naruto, but he didn't think they will take so far. It seems like the people have fallen to thr curse of hate. These people are fools. They believe what they're doing is right, but they are blinded by their own hate and ignorance. They can't tell the difference from a child and a creature made of mass chakra, thought Crow. He then looks towards Raven. No doubt Shisui is disguised with these people. I just can't help but wonder, is the world filled with hatred? But then again, we do live in a time of hate, greed, and ignorance. Shisui looks towards Crow. Is there something on your mind? Asked Shisui. Crow just shook his head held, then turns towards Hiruzen. How was a angry expression. Hokage-sama, what do you plan to do? Asked Shisui looking towards Hiruzen. Hiruzen lets out a groan. Something I should have done years ago, Shisui-kun. Said Hiruzen in an emotionless tone which sent chills down each other's spine. Crow released a loud gulp. That will be Hokage-sama? Asked a scared Crow. Hiruzen towards both Crow and Raven. I'll start acting like a real Kage and not a grandparent. I'm pretty sure you along with everyone else had noticed I haven't been acting like a Kage, more of a grandparent, which many people believe me to be an old man, unfit to run the village. Like for example, do you two know how many times the citizen council has tried to get themselves involved in shinobi matters, or when Danzo attempts to question my authority? Any normal respecting Kage would have put them in their place, like Tobirama Senju, the Niddame Hokage, who's also my sensei. Said Hiruzen as he glares in the distance at all the times Danzo had went behind his back. Hiruzen turns his head towards the Anbu. Did you two knew it was Tobirama that it gave the Uchiha clan power? Asked Hiruzen. Both Crow and Raven shook their heads negatively. I'm not surprised, since some of the Uchihas didn't like Tobirama Senju, but he did it was thanks to him, the Uchiha clan had the police force. Said Hiruzen. The three ninjas then walk in silence, either nothing to talk about or just simply choose not to talk, since the memory of Naruto was still fresh in their minds. The group finally make it towards the holding cells. Hiruzen glares heatedly at Shima Uchiha, KM Hyuga, Ringu Ching, Choza Akimichi, Kakashi Haddock and Asuma Sabutobi. He looks at each one of the prisoners in disgust. He turns his attention towards Kakashi and shoots the white-haired shinobi a hate-filled glare. Haddock, you are such a disappointment. I would have thought you've known to trust your sensei's fuinjutsu skills, but it seems like you hadn't, you damned fool. I could only imagine how disappointed Rin and Obito are of you, especially your father, he would be so disappointed in you. Thought Hiruzen. He then turned his gaze to Asuma. Asuma smiles at his father. Dad. Exclaimed Asuma running up to the bars and grins at his father. Finally you're here, come and get me out. Yelled Asuma. But Hiruzen doesn't give his son a fatherly smile. No, Hiruzen gave him a death glare mixed with his killer intent, causing everyone within the building to drop to their knees. Asuma slowly raises his head, meeting the glare head of his father head on. Asuma, you're no son of mine. No child or any member of the Sabutobi clan would do what you did to Naruto-kun. If your mother was still alive, she'll be disgusted with you, Asuma. Said Asuma in a cold tone. Asuma glares back at his father, but the glare has no effect on the old Kage. What are you talking about? Daddy isn't normal child, he's the Kyuubi. Don't you remember that it was that brat that killed mom? Yelled Asuma. Hiruzen clicked his tongue in annoyance. He closes his eyes and glares back at his son. Then you're truly a fool, Asuma. Naruto is not Kyuubi. If you can't understand that, then you are truly a fool. Your older sister'll take Great Bamboo will be disappointed in you, Asuma. Said Hiruzen. He then turns towards Kakashi. And you, Kakashi, you're a disgrace of a shinobi in person. No doubt both your diseased teammates are very disappointed in you. I could only imagine how much disappointed your father is with you, Haddock, but I suppose it's a good thing Sakumo is dead, cause there's no doubt in my mind her will disown you. Said Hiruzen. He'll then grits his teeth in anger. You know who Naruto is and whose his parents are, but you still torture, mutilated, and disfigured their child. Count yourself lucky I don't know the Kuchiyas. Ito Tensei, summoning. Impure world reincarnation, or I would bring them back and allowed them to beat you to near death. Said Hiruzen in a cold tone. He then turns towards Shisui. Raven, take Kakashi's Sharingan, he won't need it anymore. Ordered Hiruzen. Raven activates his Sharingan. He then nods his head. Yes, Lord Hokage. Sharingan Jinjutsu. Owl's gaze of dust, Sharingan Jinjutsu. Fukurum no Chiri no Shisen. Said Shisui in a cold tone. Everyone then falls over with a dazed expression, and they gain an expression void of life. It's no use, neither of you can move. This Jinjutsu puts you in a Jinjutsu, where the gravity is 100 pounds, and every time you attempt to move the gravity feels even heavier. Said Shisui. He then opens the gate. He kneels down before Kakashi takes off his Anbu mask, revealing Kakashi's black eye and the Sharingan eye. Shisui then rips out the Sharingan and walks back to Hiruzen. What do you want to do with the Sharingan eye, Hokage-sama? Asks Shisui. Hiruzen glares at Kakashi. Destroy it. Haddock won't be needing it anymore. Ordered Hiruzen. With blood coming down from the right side of his face, Kakashi looks up in horror. No. That was a gift from Obito. Yelled Kakashi mentally. Yes, of course, Hokage-sama. Said Shisui. He then closes his hand, destroying the Sharingan. Shisui then turns off the Jinjutsu. Everyone then breathes heavily with sweat rolling off their faces. Hiruzen then turns his back towards the prisoners. If you think this is your punishment, then you are wrong. Each and every one of are being accused of attempt manslaughter, kidnapping, torturing a child, breaking a law which I set, and harming a child. Not only have you crippled a child but a military asset. Also, after these years I've become weak, allowing people like you to get away with hurting a military asset with only jail time or a slap on the wrist, but no more. You and all the other 40 pieces of scum shall be executed. Said Hiruzen. Everyone looks shocked at the Hokage. Will set them to be executed. Hey. You can't do that. Yelled Ringu glaring at the Hokage. Hiruzen just scoff at the woman. I'm the Hokage, my word is law, and it's about time you people learn that Konoha isn't a democracy, but a dictatorship. Snarled Hiruzen. He then glares at Asuma in disgust before turning towards Crow. Retrieve and inform my daughter'll take. Ordered Hiruzen. Crow nods his head and shunshin into a flock of crows. Hiruzen then turns back to Asuma. You should count yourself lucky, Asuma, that I'm even allowing will take to see you, but as the rest of you the village will know each and every one of you people as traitors. Said Hiruzen in his cage voice. Both Choza, KM, and Shmwa glare at Hiruzen. You can't do that, I have a family. Yelled Choza. The Hyuga clan won't accept this, Hokage-sama. Yelled KM in anger. The female Uchiha snarls at Hiruzen. You can't do this, the Uchiha won't allow my death to happen. Yelled Shmwa in anger. Hiruzen just narrows his eyes at the three. I don't care. Your clans will just have to learn how to function without you and Choza. It seems like you'll die without watching your son grow. TSK, how fitting for true trash. Said Hiruzen in a cold tone void of any emotion. Hiruzen then hears the sound of flapping wings. He doesn't turn around since he knows Itachi and his elder daughter is with Itachi. Behind Itachi is take a woman at the age of 22. She has long, brown hair which she kept in a high ponytail, dark eyes, she had dark skin tone, her skin is the same color of Nico Robin before time skip. Take wears a dark gray long sleeve shirt reaching her elbows. Under her shirt, she wears a fishnet shirt, the left sleeve is short while the right sleeve is long. The woman wears black fingerless gloves that has a metal plate. Take wears a dark blue cloak, over her shirt she wears a jounin vest. She wears Anbu pants and Anbu sandals. Strapped to her back are two black batons. Take bows to her father in respect. Father is what Crow said true. Did these people and Asuma Atanto really torture and crippled Naruto-kun? Asked Take with disbelief and anger. Hiruzen nods his head. I'm afraid, Soul Take-chan, these people have done something only Orochimaru and Madara will do. If you want to ask him then please do so because tomorrow each will be executed for their crimes. Said Hiruzen. He then turned towards Raven and Crow. Raven, Crow, let's leave. Ordered Hiruzen. He and the two Uchiha shunshin back to the hospital. After seeing her father shunshin she walks towards the holding cell containing Asuma. She then looks Asuma in the eyes with content and uncertainty. Tell me Asuma Atanto, did you honestly did those horrible things to that poor child? Asked Take. Asuma nods his head. Yes, I did. I left a scar on his face and cut his leg off. That little shit deserve it. Growled Asuma. Take looks at Asuma in horror. She just couldn't believe that her brother would harm a child. Is that what you believe? Asked Take. Asuma nods his head. Take looks at him in sadness and anger. She then gains a cold expression. If that's the case, then I'm glad you won't be in my Konoha Mary-chan's life. After all, being around a person cruel as you won't be good for him. Said Take. She then turns to her back with fresh tears coming down from her face. I'll make sure to inform SH plus Root Koi, see later. I know he'll be disappointed with you, and I bet Kachan will be happy with you. Farewell Asuma Atanto. Said Take. She then shunshin only leaving autumn-colored leaves. The only thing Asuma saw of his sister is her tear-filled eyes which he scoffed at. With Hiruzen looks down at Naruto in sadness. He then runs his fingers through the boy's blonde hair. Hiruzen then closes his eyes in anguish and horror. Hiruzen then covers his eyes as he tries to stop the tears from falling down. How could he not? He'd promised both Minato and Kushina he'll protect their child Naruto. But here Naruto is on the hospital bed connected to multiple machines with two scars across his face, a ripped eye, the loss of his left arm and both legs and several third-degree burns. But for once Hiruzen was thankful for the Biju. Thanks to the tailed beast some of the burns had healed, but Hiruzen knew he had failed his parents. If Naruto did wake up, the old man didn't know if he'll be able to look Naruto in the eye. Hiruzen then senses his daughter'll take. He doesn't turn around. Here stares at the sleeping Naruto who's breathing slowly. He lets out a soft sigh. I thought you'd be with SH plus Root-kun and Konoha Mary-chan. Said Hiruzen who still has his back to Take. She nods her head and lets out a sad laugh. Yeah, but SH plus Rod is watching Konoha Mary-chan, plus I just had to see poor Naru-chan. Said Take with an ensuring expression. Hiruzen narrows his eyes. Are you sure? I know you've seen some horrible stuff on your missions and even on your annual missions, but are you positive? Asked Hiruzen. He knew how much Take cared for the boy, but he wanted to know if she's ready. Hell, he still has a hard time looking at the child who's a grandson to him. Take nods her head. Yes, of course I have to see it for myself. I just couldn't stop thinking what Asuma did to Naruto. I mean, he's just a child, and no caring person with their own sanity intact would wish for what happened to Naruto to happen to anyone else. And also, if I don't see what they've done to him it'll haunt me, Dad. Said Take in a sad tone but a tone that helped determination. Hiruzen sighs loudly. Fine, but I must warn you dear, you won't like what you see. I don't even like what I see, to be honest. Said Hiruzen. He then gets up and walks out of the way. Once Hiruzen moves out of the way, Take is shocked beyond belief as she stares at the now crippled and slightly burnt Naruto. She'd seen some horrible things done to children in her time of being a jounin. She's even saw some cruel things done to children when she was in Anbu, but what she's looking at now is something akin to a sick torture experiment done by her father's former student, Orochimaru. "Dear Kami," said Take as she covers her mouth in horror. Seeing the stuff that was caused to Naruto was one thing, but actually seeing it was a whole other thing. How could anyone be prepared to see a child horribly disfigured and tortured? She couldn't believe that her own flesh and blood had a hand in almost killing an innocent child or any child. Take then starts crying and her knees buckle. She then falls to the ground crying for the poor child and the disgrace that Asuma had put on her clan. How can anyone do this? They're monsters," said Take in sadness. Hiruzen walks over to his daughter with tears in his eyes. "That is true Take-chan, only a monster would do this to a child, but this makes you wonder," said Hiruzen as he looks down at his daughter. She looks back at him. "What makes you wonder?" asked Take in sadness. "At once you believe you have seen everything from your ninja career. There are things like these atrocities among atrocities that still get you and make you see how far we humans will go. We've said the Biju are monsters, but there are people worse than a Biju like the people of tonight," said Hiruzen in sadness. After that they both sat in sadness watching Naruto sleep and listening to the sound of his breathing and the machines hooked into him. Hiruzen sighs loudly. He then stands up which Take shoots a curious gaze at her father. "Raven, I require some of your call sister assistance," said Hiruzen, which Raven Shunshin in front of Hiruzen the Uchiha, then bows before Hiruzen. "Whatever you require I'll do it Hokage-sama," said Shisui. The aged Hokage nods his head at this. He was grateful that both Itachi and Shisui were loyal to him and wasn't ignorant like the rest of the village are. "Bring me Dr. Sekiten, I wish to know of Naruto-kun's condition," said Hiruzen. Shisui nods his head and Shunshin away to retrieve the doctor. He could understand the Hokage's worried attitude since he was also worried about Naruto. 2 minutes later Shisui comes back with Sekiten. Seeing the Hokage, Sekiten bows in respect. "Hokage-sama, I was told you requested me?" asks Sekiten. Hiruzen turns around facing Sekiten. "That is correct. Has Naruto's condition got any better?" asked Hiruzen with a solemn expression. Sekiten sighs at this. "I'm afraid not Hokage-sama, he's been sleeping for a few hours. We suspect this is because of the physical and mental damage the child has went through. The only thing that has changed is that his 3rd degrees burn have somewhat healed. I'm sorry Hokage-sama, we tried our best," said Sekiten with a tone of sadness. Hiruzen gives the doctor a small smile. "You shouldn't blame yourself, it is my fault this had happened," said Hiruzen in an almost defeated tone. Take looks shocked that her father was blaming himself for the actions of others. What? You can't possibly blame yourself for other people's action, father," yelled Take. Hiruzen just shoots a sorrow smile at Take. He then turns his attention back at Sekiten. "You may leave Sekiten, thank you for all your work, I'm truly grateful," said Hiruzen. Sekiten nods his head and exits the room. Hiruzen then turns towards his daughter Crow, "Raven, Hebe, Nico, Tenzo, your work here is done. You may retire from tonight. I'm sure you're all exhausted, but be in office by 5 o'clock in the morning, we'll be busy," ordered Hiruzen. Everyone nods their head and Shunshin out of the room. He then turns towards Take. "It actually is my fault. I'm the one who told them about Naruto being a Jinchuriki. If anyone's to blame it's myself. Now come on Take, tomorrow we'll be busy and unforgettable at that," said Hiruzen. Take nods her head. Each of Sabutobi members shoot Naruto a sad smile, hoping he wakes up. The next day, inside the Hokage office, Hiruzen gazes at his Anbu. He knew this day is going to be the day that everything changes. After today Konoha won't be the same. Shadai-sama. Aburama-sensei will be proud of the Hokage I've become. I honestly wish that Minato or Kushina was alive. If one of them was alive, then Naruto-kun would be running around the village and eating ramen, but instead he's in the damned hospital because of my weakness," thought Hiruzen in anger. He then coughs in his hand. "Bring all the clan heads to the council room, and I don't want any member of the citizen council betray any of my orders, and I will personally kill you, is that understood?" hissed Hiruzen in a threatening manner as he unleashes his killer intent. All the Joun in them collapse to the ground. "Is that understood?" said Hiruzen. Each of them groaned out high. Hiruzen then released his killing intent, allowing his Anbu to raise up. They each left to gather members of the Shinobi Council. Hiruzen then smokes his pipe. "I already know I'm going to need this for the headache those idiots will give me," said Hiruzen. He then looks at the photo of both Tobirama and Minato. Hiruzen then walks to the council room. He patiently waits for the Shinobi Council members to appear. "Naruto, I hope you can forgive this foolish man someday," said Hiruzen. "Time skip 10 minutes. Hiruzen narrows his eyes at Hiashi Hyuga, Fugaku Uchiha, Shikaku Nara, Inoichi Yamanakatsu, Minyazuka Shibi, Aburama Take, Sabutobi, and Murakumo Kurama." Hiruzen nods to his Anbu. "Now that you're all here this meeting can begin," said Hiruzen in his Hokage tone. The Ashi raised his eyebrow at this, but Hokage-sama Choza isn't here, said Hiashi. He then flinches at the glare he received from Hiruzen. "Choza will be here in a short while," said Hiruzen. "Hedgehog, Hedgehog, Ratto, Rat, Shika, Deer, Chameleon, Courage, Jellyfish, bring them here," ordered Hiruzen. Each of them nod their heads and Shunshin to the prison, bringing back Shima Uchiha, KM Hyuga, Ringu Ching, Choza Akamichi, Kakashi Haddock and Asuma Sabutobi, and the rest of the 40 of the prisoners. Each of the members of the Shinobi Council are shocked seeing 40 people in chakra cuff. They are more surprised at seeing Chmua, KM, Ringu who runs one of the ninja shops, Kakashi, Choza, and Asuma www. What's the meaning of this, Hiruzen? Said Fugaku glaring at Hiruzen. Hiruzen then release his killer intent, shutting Fugaku-san, that's Hokage-sama to you, I'm not your friend, so don't call me by my name, as if familiar with each other, is that understood? Said Hiruzen in a cold tone. Fugaku shivers in fear, he bows to Hiruzen, why yes of course Hokage-sama, it won't happen again. Said Fugaku in fear. Hiruzen nods his head, makes sure that it does. Growled Hiruzen, he then turns towards the 40 prisoners, you people are guilty of attempt murder, manslaughter, kidnapping, torturing a child, breaking a law which I set, and harming a child. Not only have you crippled Naruto Uzumaki who's a citizen of Konoha, but who's also a military asset, these actions of are horrendous and unforgivable. It seems like in the past I have been easy on you people, so from starting now anyone who betrays the village or break the law I've set motion shall be killed on sight, you people are guilty, and I shall make sure no child, man or woman will be tortured or killed. That's why I'll be making an example out of you scum of the earth. Said Hiruzen in a motionless tone. You can't do this. Yelled Kunoichi. She's right, this isn't fair. Said KM. Hiruzen then glares at them, pinning everyone down with his killer intent. I am the Hokage trash. My word is law, if I want to kill someone I can do it and no one can say anything about it. Also, you people seem to forget this isn't a democracy, this is a ninja village ruled and run by ninjas, I'm the dictator of Konoha. Your opinions have no say, you people seem to forget that the Hokage runs the village and not the people. You speak of fair, but let me ask you something, where the hell was this fair you speak of when you pieces of garbage ripped out Naruto's eye, cut his arm off, and both of his fucking legs? You people don't deserve mercy. Growled Hiruzen with hate in his voice. All the clan heads stood in shock. Hiruzen then sighs loudly, Anbu kill them. Said Hiruzen in a cold tone. Each of the Anbu nod their heads, they then threw a volley of poison-laced kunai and senbon, ending each of their lives. Let this be a lesson to all of you, if any of you go behind my back I will personally kill you, is that understood? Said Hiruzen. The clan's head let out a yell of hi. Hiruzen smiles at this, good meeting over, Anbu get rid of these bodies. Ordered Hiruzen, he then shunshin back to the office. Later in day he had told the citizen council of 40 traders of the village and were executed for crimes of damaging a military asset. He then declared it should be an S-rank secret, and if anyone speak of it, they'll be executed, and if anyone attempts to hurt Naruto Uzumaki or break his law, he'll kill them. Unfortunately, one of the citizens, Taiaka, owner of a furniture store, quickly found a kunai lodge into his throat. After seeing this, each citizen had learned Hiruzen wasn't the same old man, no. He was Hiruzen Sabutobi, the god of shinobi. Even the war hawk Danzo learned not to question Hiruzen when Hiruzen threatened to kill Danzo, when the man had suggested he should have allowed Naruto be in his root program. When Hiruzen had informed his jounin, each of them were shocked at the ninjas who attacked Naruto. Might Guy and Kurenai were disgusted with both Kakashi and Asuma, both had vowed they won't allow this to happen to any other child. Both Guy and Kurenai had increased their training. Hiruzen had finally had Konoha under control, no one had attempted to go against the laws he set in motion, but he knew there were people who still hated him for defending Naruto, and he knew Danzo had something up his sleeve. Hiruzen believed Naruto would wake up any day by now, but days have turned into weeks, and those weeks had turned into a month. Him and Take would constantly visit Naruto, the baby Konohamaru would giggle each time he saw the sleeping Naruto, the two would have found it cute if Naruto wasn't sleeping. It has now been over 3 months since the attack on Naruto. Hiruzen has gone to the hospital to check up on Naruto and see if anything has changed. Hiruzen stands in front of Sekiten, both men watch Naruto as he sleep, both men has a sad expression, but out of the two men, Sekiten looks even more sad, the man looks heartbroken. Hiruzen turns towards Sekiten. Sekiten, has Naruto's condition change? Asked Hiruzen. Sekiten bows his head in sadness, he then looks at Hiruzen. Hokage-sama, I'm afraid the mental and physical damage has caused more damage than we thought. Said Sekiten. Hiruzen narrow his eyes at this, what are you saying? Asked Hiruzen in an emotionless tone. Sekiten looks back at Naruto, he then turns back to Hiruzen, what I'm saying Hokage-sama is Naruto Uzumaki has been in a 3-month coma. Said Sekiten. Hiruzen's eyes shot open with a surprised expression, his expression then shifts to a serious expression with his brown eyes, narrowing, how is that possible? How is it that you've only found this out 3 months commonly recent, shouldn't you and your medics would have found this out sooner? Asked Hiruzen as he's leaking killer intent, thus causing Sekiten to cower in fear. Well, you see Hokage-sama, there had been cases where the medics wouldn't even treat Naruto, and some will try to kill Naruto in his state, but luckily for the boy, the Anbu were watching and was able to stop them. But it also has to do with numerous of the Amanaka clan trying to damage Naruto's mind even further, but if it wasn't for Weasel and Raven, then Naruto would have been killed or brain dead. Explained Sekiten. He then releases a sigh of relief as Hiruzen cuts off the killer intent. Hiruzen then shifts his gaze to the sleeping Naruto. As he watches Naruto breathe steady, he still can't help but to blame himself. Even if I was able to make those pay, there are still people who are trying to kill Naruto-kun. Even if I decree harming Naruto or speaking of his Jinchuriki status as a punishment, I still can't help but to blame himself. If only I had acted like a true Hokage, then this wouldn't have happened. Thought Hiruzen in sadness. The aged Kage then turns his gaze from the slumbering Jinchuriki to the medic Nin. But how did you find out Naruto-kun is a coma? Asked Hiruzen. Sekitin then coughs in his hand. Well, it was thanks to Inoichi. At first I thought he was attempting to get revenge against Naruto, but after explaining he felt horrible. Horrible that his friend had a helping hand at torturing Naruto. He used his mind jutsu and pointed out that Naruto has been in a coma. Said Sekitin. Hiruzen nods his head. Thank you Sekitin. Said Hiruzen. Sekitin waved Hiruzen off and smiles at the Kage. It's no problem Hokage-sama, it's simply my duty. Said Sekitin with a bow. Hiruzen nods his head. He then turns towards Naruto and runs his hand through Naruto's blonde locks, but Naruto suddenly flinches. He then turns towards Sekitin. Did Inoichi go into Naruto's mind? Asked Hiruzen in a curious tone. Sekitin shook his head negatively. No he didn't Hokage-sama. Said Sekitin. Hiruzen gives the medic a raised eyebrow. And why is that? Asked Hiruzen in curious yet suspicious tone. When Inoichi used his mind jutsu he found out Naruto's mind is in pieces. Said Sekitin. At hearing Naruto's state of mind sent flares to the Sandame's mind in pieces. What do you mean his mind is in pieces? Do you mean as he's gone insane? Asked Hiruzen in a worried tone. Sekitin shook his head negatively, but he then lets out a nervous cough. Inoichi said, well Naruto's state of mind is in pieces. He isn't insane, but his mind is trying to cope what had happened. Said Sekitin. Hiruzen then massages the temple of his forehead, feeling another headache at which he shouldn't be surprised, since after Naruto had been attacked both shinobi and citizens have been giving him nothing but a headache. Well the citizens are aware of the new laws that have been set, they didn't even bother to follow the rules he had set in motion, even his advisors had questioned him. Flashback 2 months ago, Hiruzen puts his favorite tobacco into his pipe, he then uses small amount of fire release to lit his favorite pipe. Usually Hiruzen would find smoking his pipe to be very relaxing, but as of late, he's been using his pipe as a means on stress reliever, with the ignorant single-minded shinobi and citizens being blinded by their rage, kept demanding retribution for the lives that were lost. Hiruzen honestly wished he could tell the people of what truly had happened, but he knew this would mostly cause a civil war between people who want Naruto dead and the others who want Naruto to be treated as a hero. Like he was supposed to be treated, but Hiruzen did not need or want a civil war like the one that Kurigakure is having. If only Minato was still alive, this would have never happened to your son. If only I could find the right replacement, but Kakashi is dead, and even if I didn't set all those who torture Naruto-kun to death, I still wouldn't allow him to be okay. Jiraiya has no intention of being Hokage, Tsunade still resents the village, Itachi is still too young still even be a candidate, and Shisui still needs some time to be ready to take the position of Hokage. Well he's only 13, he's as skilled as Minato, not to mention people run away in fear once they hear Crimson-Eyed Ghost, Kurimuzen Idogumsudo, they flee on spot, but I'll have to worry about who will be the Hokage on a later date. Thought Hiruzen. Hiruzen then narrows his eyes once he senses 3 familiar chakra reserves, great just what I need, another headache. Thought Hiruzen in annoyance as he watches Danzo, Kaharu, and Hamura walk through the door. Kaharu wears a simple long kimono, closed by an obi, a jacket, and a sash over it. Kaharu has also taken to squinting, barely opening her eyes at any point in time. Hamura has grey hair, a beard, glasses as well as a constant frown that he's always worn. He also has a strong jawline, a facial structure he has retained even in his old age. As a member of the Konoha Council, he wears similar garbs to those that Hiruzen would when acting in his capacity as Hokage. Danzo appears as a frail old man who would normally walk with a cane. He had black shaggy hair and his right eye was bandaged. Danzo has had an X-shaped scar on his chin ever since his youth. He wore a white shirt with a black or dark gray robe over the top of it covering from his feet to just over his right shoulder. The robe conceals his right arm which was bandaged and covered with 3 large golden braces. Hiruzen narrows his eyes at his former teammates, he then blew out a puff of smoke. What do you 3 need? Asked Hiruzen, but it came out as more of a demand. Kaharu narrows her eyes at Hiruzen. We wish to know something. Asked Kaharu. The old Kage looked at Kaharu in a suspicious way, but the Hiruzen had figured his former teammates would come after all, it's only a matter of time before they would come. Before Kaharu could speak, Danzo steps gazing at Hiruzen with his cold soul eye. Hiruzen matches Danzo's glare with his own cold gaze. We wish to know what do you plan to do about the Jinchuriki Hiruzen? Asked Danzo. That's Hokage-sama to you Danzo. Said Hiruzen glaring at his rival. Danzo nods his head. Yes of course, Hokage same, but what do you intend to do with the Jinchuriki? Asked Danzo in his casual cold tone. Hiruzen stares at Danzo in a suspicious tone. He knew he couldn't trust Danzo. If he could, he would kill him, but that would only bring unneeded problems. I have to wait for Tenzo, Anko, Yuago, Itachi, and Shisui to gather all information of Danzo. After they get the needed information I can finally kill him and then I can worried about Orochimaru, but for now Danzo is my main concern. Thought Hiruzen. I intend to keep my promise and protect Naruto Uzumaki. Said Hiruzen in his caged tone. Danzo just stares with a plain expression. Why? He is a broken weapon and as you know all broken weapons serve no purpose. Besides, wouldn't it be better if you just discard the Jinchuriki? The village cannot have a useless tool. I suggest you dispose of him. After all, the village doesn't need a weak Jinchuriki. The Jinchuriki of the village must be as strong. That is the duty of a shinobi. To be a perfect weapon. Said Danzo, but the room began to shake violently, cracks began to appear all over the room. Each of the old shinobi turned towards Hiruzen who has dark scowl on his face and extreme killer intent rolling off of him. The killer intent is too intense. You can clearly see an image of a four-arm ape who has 6 eyes. I will never harm an innocent child. Do I make myself clear? Snarled Hiruzen. The three just stare at Hiruzen. The Sandame's glare then becomes more intense as the glass windows and floors began to crack under the pressure. I said, is that clear? Roared Hiruzen. Yes, Hokage same. Said Kaharu in fright with the other two agreeing with Hiruzen. He then releases the kill intent. Good, now get the fuck out of my office. The three left as he ordered Hiruzen, then begins to massage his head. Those three are becoming a real pain in the ass. Thought Hiruzen. Hiruzen then glances as the paperwork. At least this damn paperwork will keep my mind focused on something else. Said Hiruzen. 19 minutes later Hiruzen hears a knock on the door. The aged Sabutobi releases a groan of annoyance. Come on in. Said Hiruzen in a tired tone. The door open and Hiruzen gets met with surprised visit by Might Guy, Kurenai, and SH plus Root. His eyes shot open in surprise. What can I do for you three? Asked Hiruzen in a shocked tone. He was also surprised by the serious expression Might Guy had. The Taijutsu master steps in front of Hiruzen and bows before him. Hokage same, I have a request. Said Guy. Hiruzen raised his eyebrow in curious. A request? What kind of request, Guy? Asked Hiruzen. Wish to go on a 4-year training trip at Lake Iankiradashiru, Ironclad Shell. Said Gain. Kurenai then steps up. I also have a request. Said Kurenai as she bows to her Hokage. He nods his head cautiously. Kurenai mentally smiles at the Hokage hearing her request. She then drops the smile as soon as it appeared. I wish to join the Anbu. Said Kurenai shocking the cage. SH plus Ruit is a tall man reaching 6'1" feet tall. He has oval skin tone, he light hazel brown colored eyes, he has black spiky hair. He wears a Konohagakure leaf headband. The cloth of his headband is purple. He wears a long sleeve purple shirt that goes to his elbows. He wears black shinobi gloves. Over the shirt he wears a gray jounin vest. He wears purple shinobi pants. Wrapped around his ankles are black medical tape and he wears black shinobi sandals. SH plus Ruit also steps up in front of his father-in-law. I also have a request. Said SH plus Ruit in a serious tone. Hiruzen nods his head at SH plus Ruit. My request is that to be part of the Anbu squad. Said SH plus Root. Hiruzen eyes shot open in surprise for his 3 ninjas standing in front of him. He turned his gaze towards SH plus Rout. Are you sure? What about the 12 guardian ninja, Shugeninjiknishi? Asked Hiruzen in a concerned tone. SH plus Root nods his head. Yes, Hokage-sama. While serving the daimyo is a great pleasure. I believe my place is back in the village, protecting the people from outside dangers and inside dangers. Said SH plus Ruto. Hiruzen then turns towards Kurenai. What about you, Kurenai? What are your reasons for wanting to be part of the Anbu? Asked Hiruzen as he stares at the kind-hearted Kunoichi. Kurenai clenches her fist and glares in the distance. My reasons? My reasons is to protect the innocent Hokage-sama. I used to believe that while in this village the people are safe, but I was wrong. After what happened to Naruto I found out the people in this village can be as bloodthirsty as the Bloody Mist and ruthless as Iwa. That's why I want to not only protect other child people from experiencing what Naruto had. Declared Kurenai. But Hiruzen finally turned his attention towards Might Guy. Why do you wish to go on a 4-year training trip at Lake Iankiradashiru? Asked Hiruzen. Because what my rival and other comrades had done was unyouthful and unforgettable, and I believe a 4-year training trip will improve my taijutsu and I'll be able to reach heights that have never been seen before. Said Guy. Hiruzen then turns towards Kurenai. Kurenai, you do realize joining the Anbu exams isn't like the Chunin exams, right? The Anbu exams are much more difficult than the Chunin and Jounin exams, right? Asked Hiruzen in concern as he hopes Kurenai had actually thought about it. Kurenai nods her head in an understanding tone. Yes, I understand, Hokage-sama. While I'm still a Chunin I understand there are occasion for someone to join the Anbu like you the Hokage, allowing a person like Kakashi team, Itachi, and Shisui entrance into the Anbu ranks, while there are others who are referred and have to do the Anbu exam. I am fully aware that being an Anbu is dangerous, but it feels like it's somewhere I need to be. said Kurenai. SH plus Ruit bows towards Hiruzen. I also understand what I'm doing, Hokage-sama. It feels like I am more needed in the village. Besides you, me, and every other shinobi, even though those traitors were killed because of their crimes, we all know we must regain our strength back with the loss of Choza, Kakashi, and Asuma. Said SH plus Ruit in a serious tone. Hiruzen nods his head in agreement with his brother-in-law. I must agree with SH plus Ruit, we have lost valuable shinobi, that is why I am allowing each of your request. Good luck my fellow shinobi. Said Hiruzen with a rare smile of hopefulness. He then raised his eyebrow at Kurenai, who had not left his office. Is there something else you wish to speak to me about? Asked Hiruzen as he gives her an all-knowing expression mixed with a grandfather-like expression. Kurenai stares at Hiruzen with unnerving expression. She then nods her head in a nervous manner. Yes, there is. You see, when I heard what Kakashi and Asuma had to Naruto, had to see it for myself, but the doctors and nurses wouldn't allow me, so I left, but trailed Kurenai as she stared out of the window and looking at the Hokage mountain well, staring at Hashirama Senju, the Shodaime Hokage. Hiruzen gains a small smile expression of sadness. You've been having nightmares of what Naruto-kun had to endure when he was attacked. You can't help but to imagine the most horrible atrocities he had go through. Said Hiruzen in a tone that was a cross between distress and sorrow. Kurenai stares at Hiruzen in shocked. How did you know? Asked Kurenai in a shocked tone. Because I too have the same dreams. While I have seen Naruto-kun, it's still heartbreaking to look at the once cheerful loud boy just sit still sleeping. Said Hiruzen. You and him are close, Hokage-sama? Asked Kurenai. Hiruzen nods his head. Yes, I am. I think of him as a grandson. Said Hiruzen as he thinks back when he would treat Naruto to ramen. Kurenai unknowingly release a breath. She did not notice she was holding Hokage-sama. May you want to visit Naruto-kun, don't you? Asked Hiruzen. Kurenai looked shocked at Hiruzen. Really, you mean it? Asked Kurenai. Hiruzen nods his head and rises from his seat. The Hokage then shunship both him and Kurenai to the hospital. As the two arrive at the hospital, she realizes the room they are in is large, mostly likely a room for one person. As Kurenai surveys the room, she finds who she was, and she honestly wished the stories of Naruto being tortured and becoming cripple, but unfortunately for the sleeping Uzumaki that wasn't the case. As she stares down at Naruto in horror, she turns towards Hiruzen. I can't believe people would do this to a child. Said Kurenai. Hiruzen couldn't but to agree, but this is the kind of things you will face in Anbu. Now Kurenai, are you sure you still want to be in Anbu? Asked Hiruzen in a serious tone. Kurenai, not even bothering to wipe away the fresh tears, nods her head. Yes, my mind is set. Said Kurenai. Hiruzen smiles at this. Flashback over. The only good thing that came out of what happened during the 3 months is Guy, SH plus Ruto, and Kurenai visit. But Hiruzen knew the surprises were far over. Hiruzen stares down at the slumbering Naruto. Sekiten, I will returning back to my office. Call me if any news of Naruto's condition, even the smallest thing like a twitch of the eye. Command Hiruzen. Sekiten nods his head. Yes, of course, Hokage-sama. Said Sekiten. He watches as Hiruzen shunship away, most likely to go do finish a pile of paperwork. At Uchiha training ground, Itachi and Shisui can be seen clashing blades, with Itachi wielding a katana and Shisui wielding a tanto. They both stare at each other, with both Sharingan active and spinning in a hypnotic way. The two jump away from each other. They both go through hand signs. Fire release, Dragon Head, Kaiten. Dragon Heado. Thought Itachi as he unleashes a giant-sized dragon head made out of fire. Shisui smirks at this fire release. 8 Feather Arsenal, Kaiten Fez Scenario, thought Shisui as he fires embers-size flames, but once the tiny flames come in contact with the fireball, the tiny flames explode in a flaming explosion, which had caused the two to be blinded. Itachi narrows his eyes as he quickly turns around and his blade meets Shisui, who is grinning at Itachi. The two Uchiha pull away from each other. Do you still think you don't belong in the Anbu, Itachi? Asked Shisui. Itachi shook his head. Negativity, not after finding Naruto nearing death's door. I realize if I had waited a year, maybe Naruto wouldn't be alive, but we were still too late to prevent those people from torturing Naruto. Said Itachi in a sad time. Shisui couldn't help himself but to agree with Itachi. He then grins at Itachi. Even though we were late, at least we were able to save Naruto before he bleed to death. Said Shisui, his playful expression. He then grinned serious expression. Even though by time we arrived Naruto was missing both legs and arms, but I can't help but to wonder. Trailed Shisui as he rubs his chin. Itachi shot his best friend a raised eyebrow. Wonder what? Asked Itachi. I can't help but to wonder what's going on in Naruto's head. Said Shisui as he turned his Sharingan off. What do you mean, Shisui? What would be going through his mind? He's in a coma. Said Itachi. Shisui nods his head. Exactly, and he was tortured and dismembered in the worst way possible. The poor kid must be having the worst possible nightmare ever. His nightmares are probably equal to the same amount of mental pain that Tsukunomi causes. Said Shisui, leaving Itachi shocked. At the hospital. Later, that night at the hospital, the sound of beeping monitors and snoring could be heard through the hospital, but in the room of the comatose Naruto, he wasn't having a good dream. Well, the child is unaware of the outside world. The outside world is unaware of what is going in within Naruto's mind. While the child looks calm and peaceful on the outside, but on the inside he was horrified and scared, mostly due to him relieving the attack on him. This isn't the first time where he was relieving that horrible event. No, he had been relieving this moment since he had gotten into a coma. But after a month of dreaming about the horrible night his attackers had begun to change appearance, ninja and citizen had turned into demonic monstrous creatures. No longer was Naruto be tortured and dismembered by people, no, he was being attacked by monsters. Unfortunately for Naruto, no matter how much he begged and wished this horrible nightmare will end, but it did not. The crippled child was forced to relive every moment of being tortured 3 months, but because it is a dream it had felt like he was being tortured for years. I hate this, I hate the feeling of my skin being scorched by fire jutsus. I hate the feeling of having my legs cut off, I hate feeling of my eye being removed, and most of all I hate that look they give me, the look as if I'm some monster. Thought Naruto as he forced to watch as Kakashi rip his eye out. As he lets out a pain scream as the kunai is ripped from his eye, but they're wrong, I'm not the monster, no they are the monsters. Thought Naruto in anger, but just the sight from his right eye had vanished, so did the sight from his left eye. As Naruto's sight vanishes he begins to panic, the darkness it reminded him so much those days before he met Hiruzen, before meeting Iruka-sensei, back when he was sleeping on the cold pitch black streets. Naruto could feel nothing but fear and terror as he was in total darkness. Where am I? Gigi, please help me. Pleaded a terrified Naruto as he screams within the everlasting darkness. But just as it seemed his wishes had been granted, Naruto's soul eye flinches as his blue opens. Naruto quickly shuts his eye as he's blindsided by the bright light. Naruto attempts to open his eye once more, but he gets assaulted by the same bright light once more, but as he has his eye open his sight is blurry. While Naruto struggles to see due to him sleeping, but unknown to him a female nurse walks in to check on the slumbering Naruto, well the now awoken Naruto, but the blonde Jinchuriki was unaware of the nurse. The woman stood shocked as she watched Naruto, who's been sleeping in a coma, is finally awake. She honestly believed the physical and mental trauma was too much for the child and would be in a coma until death, but it had seemed thanks to his stubbornness that isn't the case. The nurse was honestly horrified when she saw Naruto's body. But seeing Naruto begin to wake up shocked the nurse, but if she had to be honest, she was glad that the child has finally awoken. Oh my god, Naruto, you're finally awake, Hokage-sama would be glad to know you have finally awakened, said the nurse as she walks towards the crippled child. Just as Naruto's sight begins to settle he tears at the nurse, but his expression begins to morph into an expression of fear and absolute terror. As the woman goes towards Naruto he backs up and shakes in fear at the nurse. The nurse looks concerned. Naruto, what's wrong? Is there something I can do for you? Asked the nurse as she places her palm onto Naruto's forehead, but just as her hand touches Naruto's burnt skin, something within Naruto had snapped. He backhands the nurse with a frightful expression. The backhand slap had caused the nurse to tumble back. The nurse then gains a concerned expression. Naruto, what's wrong? Asked a confused nurse as she walks towards Naruto's who's flailing his arm. Naruto, be calm down. Pleaded the nurse, but her pleas held no room as the crippled blonde begins to thrash around even more. Even with the nurse being able to hold down Naruto's left arm and his right stump of a arm, the Uzumaki somehow was able to still struggle, causing the woman to hit the ground. Between the yelling and thrashing had caused a medic to check out what is causing the noise, but as early H medic attempts to restrain the child he was still managing to cause the medics to strong as he thrashes around, making it near impossible to hold the child down. Someone get Hokage-sama in here. Roared a medic Nin. But just as Naruto swings his arm around his stump legs, he suddenly stopped thrashing. A male medic wipes the sweat from his temple as he removes a syringe. Stop Naruto's stump arm. Naruto then begins to move back and forth in a slow motion. Gee, get away from me, trailed Naruto. He then falls to the bed unable to move. What is the meaning of this? Said Hiruzen, glaring at each and every medic. The glare being sent at each of every medic had made their spines shiver in fear. Every other medic exit the room. As the path towards Naruto clears up, Hiruzen sees Naruto awake. And Naruto-kun. Exclaimed Hiruzen, who's in shock as he stares at the burnt Uzumaki. Naruto stares at Hiruzen in shock, his eyes begun to water. Gigi. Yelled Naruto. Even with the drugs still clearly in his system he jumps towards his grandfather figure, or attempts to, but without the rest of his limbs he comes crashing down on the hard cold hospital floor. Seeing Naruto crash down on the floor, Hiruzen quickly comes to the child's aid and picks the child up. Naruto-kun, you awake? Asked Hiruzen, but Naruto doesn't even hear Hiruzen as he stares at his burned skin. His eyes then travel down towards his stump limbs. Naruto then unconsciously runs his hand over his shut closed eye. Naruto then cries at the fact he was tortured and the fact that his career of being the Hokage was over. Naruto can still remember the angry faces of shinobi and citizen alike while it has been over 3 months, but to Naruto it was recent. Hiruzen then pats Naruto's head, cradling the crippled child within his arms. It'll be okay, Naruto-kun. I promise. I promise I'll protect you, no matter who it is. said Hiruzen in a grandfather-like tone. Naruto looks up at Hiruzen with his soul eye bloodshot red. "You mean Ichiji?" asked Naruto as he shivers in fright at the medics who had surrounded him. Hiruzen nods his head at the small child. "Yes, of course, Naruto-kun. It's a promise of a lifetime," said Hiruzen in a grandfather tone. After hearing the Sandaime promise, Naruto falls to sleep with a smile on his face. As Naruto slumbers into the realm of dreams, Hiruzen narrows his eyes. "Hibi, Nico, Tenzo, get me Inoichi and Ibiki," ordered Hiruzen. The three Anbu then shunshin out of the hospital. Hiruzen only had to wait 19 minutes for the Anbu to return. The three Anbu bow towards Hiruzen. The two Jounin also bow towards Hiruzen. "Is there anything else you need, Hokage-sama?" asked Tenzo. Hiruzen shook his head. "Negativity, no, that'll be all. Return to your post, Tenzo, Hibi, and Nico," ordered Hiruzen. The three Anbu agents then shunshin. Ibiki eyes the sleeping child. He then turns his gaze towards Hiruzen. "You've called Hokage-sama?" asked Ibiki. Hiruzen nods his head. "Correct, Ibiki. About 40 minutes ago Naruto Uzumaki awoken from his coma, but I believe the trauma had changed his mental state, but since I'm not a professional on the human mind, I have called the both of you since you two understand how the human mind works," said Hiruzen. The two Jounin nods their head in an understanding tone. "Would it be possible to awake him and see the state he's at?" asked Inoichi. While he would allow the child to rest, but finding out the child's state of mind is important, he just hopes the child's mind isn't too damaged. Hiruzen nods his head. Hiruzen then grabs hold of Naruto's shoulder and begins to shake the child from his slumbering state. Naruto then rubs his eye. "Jiji," whined Naruto as he raises his head. He turns towards Inoichi and Ibiki. He then gains a fearful expression. Inoichi gains a calm expression and smiles at Naruto. "It's okay, Naruto. My name is Inoichi. I am Ino's father. And this man is Ibiki. We're here to help you," said Inoichi. Naruto's hair shadows his face. "You're wrong. Everyone wants to kill me," said Naruto as he stares down at his bandage-covered legs. Ibiki narrows his eyes in suspicion. "So, the boy believes everyone is out to get him," thought Ibiki. "Why do you think that?" asked Inoichi in a polite tone. Naruto still stares at his legs. "Because everyone hates me. The 9 ninjas and citizens hate me, even the sensei and my classmates hate me. I can see it in their eyes," said Naruto. "But what about Hokage-sama?" asked Ibiki in his usual stern yet cold tone. "He's different," stuttered Naruto. Inoichi nods his head at Hiruzen, the Sandaime, then presses onto a pressure point on Naruto's neck, thus knocking him out. "So, Inoichi, Ibiki, what do you think?" asked Hiruzen. Inoichi massages the temple of his forehead. "Well, Hokage-sama, Naruto suffers from haphophobia," said Inoichi in a professional tone. Hiruzen shots Inoichi a raised eyebrow. "What is that?" asked Hiruzen in a worried tone. Ibiki coughs in his hand. "It means Naruto has a fear of human contact, but it seems like you're an exception," said Ibiki. Inoichi nods his head. "Obviously Naruto would only allow the people that are close to him to even touch him," said Inoichi. "So, Naruto-kun would only allow people he trusts to even touch him?" asked Hiruzen. Both Inoichi and Ibiki nods their head. Hiruzen couldn't help but feel bad for the child. He honestly hopes Naruto can overcome this fear he has. With Tenzo, the three Anbu can be seen walking through an old lab. Within the lab has dead children trapped in giant tubes. This lab was one of Orochimaru's old labs. To Nico and Hibi, this lab containing human experiments was unknown to the female Anbu agents, but to Tenzo this was the place he was created. This is the lab where he was experimented on and gained access to wood. Release, Mokuton. Tenzo narrows his eyes as he glares at the tube. "I can't believe I'm back here," said Tenzo. Anko raises her eyebrow at Tenzo, but thanks to her mask, Tenzo was unable to see. "You've been here before?" asked Anko. Tenzo nods his head. "Yes, as you may know, I have Mokuton, but do you know how I got this ability?" asked Tenzo. Both Anko and Yugao shook their heads. "Negativity. It was here that I gained the ability, but enough of that. Let's search this place," ordered Tenzo. Anko nods her head. "Right, the sooner we find some dirt on that Danzo bastardized, the sooner we leave this place," said Anko in a snarl as she walks off searching for something. Yugao turns towards Tenzo. "Where do you think we should look, Captain Tenzo?" asked Yugao. Tenzo turns towards Yugao. "We should search through the office room, Nico. If I'm right, that's where Danzo and Orochimaru keep all their documents," said Tenzo. Yugao follows Tenzo into the room. As they go through the office they see a vial. On the vial has the word Yuki on it. "Yuki? Who do you think they are?" asked Yugao. Tenzo runs his fingers between his chin. "Yuki, if I'm right, that name belonged to the Yuki clan. A clan of people who possessed ice release. Hympton, this can be of use," said Tenzo as he seals the document and vial into one scroll. Yugao eyes widen as she stares at a document, but this wasn't just a document, but a mission document personally signed by Danzo. "Captain Tenzo, you might want to check this out." Tenzo eyes shot open in shock. "I don't believe it," exclaimed Tenzo. Anko rushes to the side of Tenzo. The snake summoner wonders what Yugao had found. She honestly hopes they found something that can be tracked back to Danzo. She and the many other ninjas of Konohagakure didn't trust the man. He was always plotting something against Hiruzen Sabutobi. As she stands next to Tenzo, she reads the mission report and narrowed her eyes in suspicion. This isn't only a mission report but an assassination mission. Declared Anko, this mission scroll isn't just an assassination mission but for the assassination for Hiruzen Sabutobi. Anko turned towards Yugao with this, there's no way the old bastard can weasel his way out of it. States Anko, if there was one thing she hated more than Orochimaru it was traitors to Anko. Any and all traitors deserve to die, and Danzo was a threat to Konohagakure. The man claimed he was loyal, but that isn't true. Everyone knows the aged shinobi only wants to be the Hokage so he can change it into his sick twisted visions. Yugao nods her head with Anko. She too didn't trust the aged man. The only people who did trust a warhawk is Kaharu and Homura, who are both stuck in the old ways. You would think being as old as them would make them wise, but unfortunately, that isn't the case. And they were trained by Hashirama and Tobirama Senju. You would think they would be wise, but that isn't the case. The only ones that seem to be wise is their Hokage, who no doubt is struggling. She honestly was shocked to her core when they'd found Naruto burnt and bloody. All the missions she'd gone on, she had seen how dark the ninja world can be, but Kakashi and Asuma were a part of the cruel act, and she had known the two her genin days to her. Both Kakashi and Asuma were a disgraced. Kakashi was the student of Minato Namikaze, who did everything in his power to protect the village, and Asuma was the son of the Sandium, whose job is to protect the people of Konohagakure. Yugao turned towards Tenzo. Shall we continue to look around for anything else? Asked Yugao. Tenzo nods his head. Yes, we could find something else, but if we end up with nothing else we at least have this scroll. But Danzo is cautious. Man, we were just lucky to find this. Informed Tenzo. Anko and Yugao nod their heads. The three split up and begin searching through the base, hoping to find something else that can be of use to them. While Konohagakure's greatest enemy is somewhere else around Yvette world, another threat is sitting in the village, plotting. The brunette didn't know what plan the man had, but he knew it was anything but good. He then narrowed his eyes under his mask. He picks up a file and begins ready. With the help of Orochimaru, plan Black Ice is finally completed with the DNA of the Yuki and Sabutobi clan. I will have my own powerful shinobi, and I can finally have a perfect that can kill Sabutobi and finally get me in a chair. By Danzo Shimura. The date of the scroll appears to be 7 years ago. Tenzo cursed under his breath. Damn it. That bastard created a clone from the cells of the Yuki and Sabutobi clan. This can't be good, and who knows what else that bastard has done. Wood clone technique, Moku Bunshin no Jutsu. Said Tenzo. 4 wooden clones emerge from his body. Search this place and report back. Ordered Tenzo. Each clone nod their heads and merges into the ground. Time skip. Location. Academy. Iruka wipes the sandust from his eyes. The Chunin hadn't got much sleep. Actually, the man hadn't slept in days. He can still remember when heard about the attack on Naruto. He tried to visit Naruto, but the Anbu guarding his room wouldn't allow the man to enter the room, no matter how many times he tried. He even attempted to talk to the Sandium, but Sandium was always busy. Even when he tried to sleep, he would always wake up in the middle of the night. He knew him having sleepless nights wasn't anything compared to what Naruto had experienced. The students at the school began to wonder. Naruto was after 2 weeks, and thus Iruka had to make up he caught a serious cold that has the blonde severely sick. But Iruka knew this lie won't hold up. After all, Shikamaru Nara is already aware he's lying about Naruto being sick. He just doesn't know how to break it to them that their classmate had been attacked by the villagers and ninjas whose job is to protect them. He then hears the door open. He looks up and sees Anbu. He raised his eyebrow at the man. May I help you? Asked the Chunin. You have been summoned by Hokage-sama. Said the Anbu, shocking Iruka. He walks to the Anbu and places his hand on the man's shoulder. The two men shunship to the hospital and appeared right in front of Naruto's room. Standing at the door is Hiruzen Sabutobi, whose face has been dried by the tears he shed. Iruka bows to the man. You summoned me, Hokage-sama? Asked the Chunin. He knew past the few months that had gone by he was busy, and all the times he had attempted to see the aged Sabutobi he never had any time to see. So, Iruka can't help but wondered why the Sandium Hokage. Hokage-sama, are you alright? You look tired. Asked Iruka in a concerned tone, full well knowing how much stress the cage is. Hiruzen released a hollow chuckle. He then wiped away the sandust from his wrinkled face. I am now Iruka. I am sorry I have had my hands tied. These months were stressful. Times like this, I wished Yondaime Hokage was still among the living. If he was, then a lot could have been prevented. Said Hiruzen in a downcast. Times like this, Naruto really needed his parents, but unfortunately, the last time he had seen his parents is the day of the child's birth. If not Minato, then he wished Kushina was alive, but that isn't the case. Hiruzen feels horrible of the hardships Naruto is going to face in the times to come. Iruka was aware of Hiruzen speaking of Naruto, but he still found himself shocked that one of the people who attacked the young inspiring Hokage was Kakashi, Asuma, and Choza, three shinobi legendary in their own right, but three loyal shinobi. He even heard KM had attacked Naruto, and he was one of Hyuga who guarded the meek Hyuga heiress. Iruka shakes his head trying not to get lost in thought. Hokage-sama, why are we in front of Naruto's room? Asked Iruka. He was not only surprised that the Anbu had shunshin him in front of Naruto's room, but he is also shocked that the Sandium Hokage is front of the door and waiting patiently. Hiruzen then pulls out his pipe and lights it with a low fire technique. Smoking his pipe has become a habit for the aged Sabutobi over the years, and he was pretty sure he has become addicted due to recent events. Iruka noticed Hiruzen has a stern look, and the Chunin was aware that Hiruzen wasn't enjoying the tobacco like he once did. I have called you here is because Naruto has finally woke up from his 3-month coma. Said Hiruzen. He watches as the Chunin before him became shocked. Iruka's legs then suddenly felt as if they were made from jelly. The man quickly latched onto wall using it to support his weight. He woke up since WW when Hokage-sama? Asked Iruka, not even minding the tears that are falling from his scared face. He couldn't believe it. Naruto had finally woke up. The boy who reminded him what he was like was finally awake. He's been awake since yesterday, Iruka. I'm allowing you to see him. But I must warn you, the attack had damaged his mind. He's not the hyperactive child you once knew. He also has a serious case of fear of people. The only people who can get close to Naruto without having the child go through a mental breakdown are myself, you, Tuchi, AM, and possibly the Anbu that had saves him that night. So be careful, he's going through something no person should ever have to experience. Said Hiruzen, losing the professional tone and now has a troubled and conflicted tone. Iruka could only nod his head dumbly. Right. Mumbled Iruka. He watches as Hiruzen steps to the side. Iruka slowly walks towards the door and grabs onto the door handle. There were no thoughts going through his head. He then takes a deep breath and twists the knob, opening the door. Hearing the door open, Naruto stares at the wall, hiding from whoever entered his room. As Iruka walked inside the plain hospital room, he sees the TV on a Yuki Fujika's movie, but he wasn't concerned with the movie starring the beautiful Ravenette actress. No, what is focused on was Naruto, who was facing the wall. His eyes widened as he sees Naruto with only having one arm, with his left arm and legs cut off. Even with him facing the wall, Iruka can still see the burns and scars left on his body. Naruto, it's me, Iruka-sensei. I came when I was informed you have woke up. I was worried about you. Said Iruka with a downcast expression. Naruto's soul eye went wide in shock as he heard the voice of his sensei. He then turned around to face his sensei, but the blonde Uzumaki had a difficult time. Only having one arm was not easy at all, and the young child was still not used to seeing with one eye. As he finally turned around, Iruka sees Naruto only has his right eye, and he has scars above on his face, one above his eye, the other across his nose, and the scar on his empty left eye. Iruka-sensei, why you came to see me? Exclaimed the shocked boy, who no longer sounded excited, instead he sounded frightened. Just like Hiruzen, he was not expecting Naruto to sound so scared and frightened. Iruka nods his head. Yeah, of course I did. You're my precious student. I'm sorry this happened to you. No child should ever gone through what you did. Exclaimed Iruka. He then takes a seat. I'm not sure if you heard, but the ones responsible were executed, each of them, and I do mean Asuma and Choza. Do you know who the two are? Asked Iruka. He watches as Naruto slowly nods his head. I know Choza is Choji's dad, but who's Asuma? Asked Naruto. We didn't know who any of his attackers except for Choza. He knew there was a Hyuga and Uchiha, but he didn't know any Hyuga or Uchiha except for Weasel, and Crow. Hiruzen had told him Raven had became Weasel. He wasn't sure what he meant at the time. The only thing that was on his mind at the time were the people who nearly killed him. Iruka wasn't too surprised when Naruto said that he knew there was only a few ninjas. Asuma was the son of the Sandium Hokage. He is known for having his trench knives. Said Iruka. Naruto's eyes shot open in fear as he remembers Asuma, who was responsible for him losing his limbs. His eye then went wide in realization he was the old man's son, but he and old man had his son executed. Asked the shocked child. Iruka nods his head. What you need to understand is the job if a shinobi is to protect the people of Konohagakure, and once Asuma and all the others had attacked you, they had became a traitor of the village, and the Hokage can't all those traitors roam around the village. I know this is a lot to take in. I'd rather have this talk with you when you're 12 and not 5. Said Iruka. He then watches as Naruto hugs the stump legs with his right arm. Iruka smiles sadly at Naruto. He honestly cursed the people who have harmed Naruto. He hopes the Kakashi, KM, Asuma, and Choza are suffering in hell. Hey Naruto, how would you like to get out of here and I'll treat you an all-you-can-eat ramen? Said Iruka. He watches as Naruto hugs his legs even tighter and shakes his head negatively. How come? Asked Iruka in a wondering tone. The Chunin then noticed Naruto is shaking. No, shaking isn't what is happening. Naruto is trembling in fear. The child's face gained an expression of absolute fear, with his eye laced with terror. I don't want to go outside. I'm scared. Iruka-sensei. Stuttered Naruto. His soul eye begins to water. What if they tried to finish me off? exclaimed Naruto with fear. That won't happen, I promise, Naruto. Exclaimed Iruka as watching Naruto body shiver in fear. You promise? Iruka-sensei, look at me. It already happened. You and Jiji-san were too late because of those monsters I can't become the Hokage. My dream is over. Cried Naruto. As much as Naruto didn't want to believe it, it was clear as day. With his limbs gone, his dream of becoming the Hokage was destroyed, and he wasn't even a genin, which made the child cry even more. It would be different if he only lost one limb, but that isn't the case. He's a crippled idiot. It's NN, no, not FF fair. Cried Naruto. Iruka rises up from his seat and kneels down to Naruto. He then envelopes the child in a hug. Naruto buried his face into the Chunin's vest. He then cries even harder than before. The young Naruto wanted to be a ninja. That's all he ever wanted to be since the day he met Hiruzen that one day when he was fishing. He lost and scared now. With his ninja career over, he was scared on what to do. The only thing he wanted was to be a ninja and take the title of Hokage from the grandfatherly Sandium Hokage. The idea of him not becoming the Hokage scared him to his very core. I'm sorry, Naruto, I really am. But, you'll get through this. I just knowed. Said Iruka. Naruto looked up at Iruka with his eye red from crying. How can you be so sure? Mumbled Naruto, but it was low enough to be heard. I don't know, but I just know. Said Iruka. Seeing Naruto acting like this was such an eye-opener, he couldn't help to wonder, is going to return back to his normal hyperactive self, or is he going to stay like this? But something in his gut was telling him the Naruto in front of him was anything but temporary, and it saddened him. He'll never see Naruto's grinning face yelling at the top of his lungs, but those days are gone. I'm hungry, Iruka-sensei. Said Naruto, causing Iruka to smile. Naruto then points at a phone. If you make a call, they'll give me food. That's what Jiji-san did. Said Naruto, who was hungry. Well, Hiruzen did bring him breakfast. He wanted ramen. Naruto watches as Iruka rises up to his feet and pick up the hello yes, service call. Said a woman on the other line. Yes, I want ramen sent to Naruto Uzumaki's room. Can we get 2 bowl of miso ramen and 1 beef ramen from Ichiraku ramen? Asked Iruka. He was still happy Naruto's love for ramen hadn't changed. That didn't really surprised him that much. After all, Ichiraku were the only people who allowed Naruto to actually go inside their restaurant. It also helped that they were kind-hearted people who saw him as a child that's alone in the world. Yes, of course, right away. It is good to have Naruto awake. I was beginning to wonder if the child ever wakes up. Said the woman in a solemn tone. Iruka glances at Naruto, who's watching the Yuki Fujika's move. Yeah, me too. Said Iruka. He then hangs up the phone. He then grabs the chair, placing the chair next to the bed. He then glanced at Naruto with a small smile. I have to get stronger to make sure this never happens again. As it stands, if something like this were to happen again, he'll no doubt die. I made a vow as a teacher and a shinobi to protect and lead the children. If not for myself, then for Konohagakure. I've already heard that Kurenai is training to be an Anbu, while Might Guy took a 4-year training trip to get stronger, and SH plus Route, the husband of Take Sabutobi, had quit 12 Guardian Ninja, Shugenin Knishi, and went to join the Anbu, and I must do the same. Thought Iruka, who has nothing but conviction swelling around him. Naruto's eye glances at his arm. During the attack he had hoped it was a dream, just a horrible nightmare, but that isn't the case. While he was dreaming, he wouldn't call it a nightmare. No, it was more than that. If anything, it was a night terror. The horrible dream felt like forever, but in reality it was 3 months. 3 months of the same night terror, and now he was awake, but the damage was already done with him suffering from haphophobia. Even his strange healing ability hasn't saved from the burns and scars that now littered his tanned skin. He unconsciously grabs the stump of his left arm. His teeth begins to trembles as he can still feel the blade that had cut through his arm. Neither Ravenet or Blonde said anything, just watching the movie. Suddenly there was a knock on the door, causing Naruto to jump in fright. Iruka turned to Naruto. It's okay, I got it. Said Iruka. Naruto nods his head and watches as Iruka walks to the door and pulls in a large tray that is carrying 3 large bowls of ramen. Naruto's eyes shined with excitement as he smells the ramen. Iruka smiles at him. Here you go. Said Iruka as he sets the bowl on Naruto's bed. Naruto then struggles to try to eat the ramen without having 2 arms. He's unable to hold onto the bowl. Iruka is saddened at this. He then grabs the bowl with his hands. Naruto shot Iruka a confused expression. But what about your found, Iruka-sensei? Asked Naruto. Iruka smiles at Naruto. Don't worry about that. Just eat, and I'm sure you're far more hungry than myself. Besides, you don't want your ramen to get cold, do you? Asked Iruka. Naruto shook his head negatively. Naruto with his right arm grabs hold of the ramen and begins to slurp up the noodles. Iruka smiles at this. He hopes he can be there for Naruto, making sure he is protected. Location: Hokage office. And that's what we learned, Hokage-sama. Said Tenzo in a respected tone. Hibi and Nico kneels before Hiruzen, who has his eyes narrowed not at the Anbu, but at what he heard. Danzo not only had a few mission reports that was requested for an assassination task, but the Warhawk had allied himself with Orochimaru and had created a human who possesses ice release, Hyoten, and the cells of his clan. In the past he never had any proof of Danzo's treachery, but he knew he had gone soft over the years and unfortunately, due to the current events it had opened his eyes. He is the Hokage, it is his duty to protect the village from any threat. Unfortunately, he allowed Orochimaru to live, in doing so has become one of his greater mistakes. A mistake that he must fix. As the leader of the village he must protect it, no matter how stands to destroy that peace. Hashirama Tht Shadame Hokage and his sensei understood this and held a fire of will. Even his brother Tobirama understood this, and if it was not because of Tobirama, then a lot of things in the village would not have existed. Ibi turned towards the aged shinobi, who's in deep thought. She could understand why he's in such thought. After all, Danzo has become a threat to the village. She and everyone were aware of Danzo not wanting to protect Konohagakure, and its people know the old Warhawk wanted everyone in Konohagakure under his rule. With his twisted beliefs of a true shinobi, shouldn't have emotions. Hokage-sama, what should we do now? It is clear as day Danzo is a jealous man who would do anything to be the Hokage. But we will not allow that to happen. Said Hibi, not allowing her emotions to rise up. Hiruzen nodded his head with his eyes being cold as ice. You are correct, Hibi. If Danzo were to become the Hokage, he would corrupt the beliefs of the Will of Fire and change Konohagakure into something far worse than the Bloody Mist. Said Hiruzen. He then turned towards Tenzo. I have another mission for you. Tenzo, you, Crow, and Weasel will find the base where Danzo is hiding and kill every member of the root including Danzo. If you were to find any children, rescue. God knows whatever those children have gone through has ruined their childhood and mind. Said Hiruzen. Of course, Hokage-sama, I won't fool you with the blood of Will of Fire running through me. I'll end those who threatens Konohagakure. Said Tenzo. Hiruzen smiles at this. I know you won't, Tenzo. I have full confidence that you'll do what's best for the village. He then turned towards the spiky-haired purplinet Nico. Hibi, I have a mission for the two of you. Said Hiruzen. Underneath both of Nico's and Hibi's mask, their eyes raised in suspicion and curiosity. What is the mission? Asked Hibi, wondering what her and her fellow purplinet next assignment is going to be. Their next mission is to guard Naruto Uzumaki. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that there are still people who go against my law and wish to finish what Kakashi and the others had done. There are people who still blame Naruto for the death of Naruto, and they'll do whatever it takes to see Naruto dead. I need you the two to make sure that doesn't happen. No doubt the citizens and ninjas will masquerade as a doctor and nurse to kill him. I'm sure there are doctors and nurses who wish to kill him, even though only a select few of doctors and nurses can enter his room. As a citizen and asset he must be protected. You are allowed to use any methods you see fit. Ordered Hiruzen. The man could have sworn he had seen a twinkle in Hibi's eyes, even though she was wearing her Anbu mask. Under the mask of Hibi she grins wildly. You can count on us, with us on the job. Those idiots won't know what hit him. Exclaimed Hibi with excitement. Hiruzen knew how much the woman hated traitors, and just like Naruto, she understood what it was like to be hated simply due to misunderstandings. Anko bites her thumb, causing blood to be drawn, and uses the summoning technique, Kuchiyus no Jutsu. A small cloud appeared. As the cloud vanishes, a red and black copperhead snake appears. She is the average size of a garden snake, and her name is Needlecore, N plus Daruko. Hiruzen honestly wished the snake clan were as loyal as the toads and slugs, but he was grateful some of the snakes were loyal to Hibi, and not just Orochimaru. Nico follows Hibi's lead and uses the summoning jutsu to summon a snow leopard that is the size of a small husky dog. This is Ravage Hakai. Hakai turned towards his summoner with his purple-colored eyes staring at her with curiosity. You called Yugao? Asked Hakai. Then plus Daruko then turned towards Hibi. How may I be of service of you, Anko-sama? Asked the snake in a very respectful tone. Nico turned towards the small feline and serpent. We have a task for you too. Said Nico in a stoic tone. The small feline tilted his head in wonder. What do you need of us? Asked Hakai. We need you to guard and protect Naruto Uzumaki. He would be in room 54. It is imperative that you protect him. You are also allowed to kill whoever tries to end Naruto. Konohagakure has no place for citizens or ninjas who take pleasure in harming a child. It is our duty to keep the Will of Fire that Shadame Hokage-sama had passed down. Any questions? Asked Hibi. Both Hakai and plus Daruko shook their heads negatively. Good, we'll meet you after our talk with Hokage-sama is finished. Said Hibi. Both animals nod their heads and shunshin away to the hospital. Hiruzen turned towards Hibi. Hibi, you may remove your mask. Said Hiruzen. Hibi removed her mask. The former student of the traitor Orochimaru stares at Hiruzen with a stoic expression on her face. Anko Mitarashi, I know you have only just joined the Anbu a few months ago, but I can't help but to be proud of your work. You have not only proven yourself as Jounin, but someone worthy enough to be part of the Anbu. You are already aware of the dark side of the ninja world, don't you? Asked Hiruzen, gaining a stern look and speaking in his Hokage voice. Anko's eyes became dark and cold as ice. She, like many of her generation, had seen how cruel the ninja world. After all, being trained by Orochimaru, you have witnessed some of the most cruel and twisted acts. Yes, I am. Not only was I the student of Orochimaru who had done various of cruel experiments, but I was also part of the Third Shinobi War. You know I once wanted to be like him, right? Asked Anko. Hiruzen nods his head. He can still remember a time where he would have considered Orochimaru Hokage back when he wasn't so evil. He can also remember when Anko had once looked up to him, but the deaths and wars seemed to have corrupted the man's beliefs. But I have experienced how cold Konohagakure ninjas are, but Naruto, he should never have to experience what has happened to him. That's why I'll do everything in my power to make sure any threat to his person is eliminated," said Anko with conviction. Hiruzen smiles at this. The smile vanishes from his wrinkled face. "I'm glad to hear that, Anko, you are dismissed. The two of you have a mission. Remember, each Konohagakure life is precious and it is our duty to protect Konohagakure and its people," said Hiruzen. He watches as Hibi puts her mask back on and nods her head. "Yes, of course, Hokage-sama. We won't fail," said Nico with a tone of respect. Hiruzen then released a puff of cloud as he takes a hit from his pipe. "I'm sure I don't need to tell you that failure isn't a choice," said Hiruzen in a deadly tone that had struck Nico and Hibi with a cold shiver that traveled through their whole body. Nico slowly nods her head. "Yes, of course. Our only choice is a mission complete," said Nico, whose knees had buckled due to the killer intent. They watched as the killer intent had vanished. Just as it had appeared, both Nico and Hibi used the shunshin and heading towards the hospital. As each appeared on the ceiling of the office, Nico and Hibi released a breath they didn't know they were holding. "Well, that was scary," thought Nico. Location: Uchiha District. A sound of blades can be heard meeting each other. One's responsible of a Kenjutsu duel are Itachi and Shisui Uchiha, one of the most skilled Uchiha members in the village besides Fugaku, but the man is a retired shinobi. With Shisui and Itachi being the youngest and most talented Uchiha members, they are very trusted with other of the Uchiha members, believing they are the future of the Uchiha clan. Itachi's Sharingan spins in a hypnotic manner as he glares at Shisui, who has his own Sharingan activated. Shisui shunshin behind Itachi, elbowing his best friend in the back. Shisui slashes at Itachi, but Itachi blocks it with his sword. Itachi allowed a smile to grace his face, while Shisui smirks. Both young ninjutsu members jump back from each other. Itachi quickly goes over the hand signs of rat, tiger, dog, ox, rabbit, tiger. Fire release. Phoenix Age fire technique, Kaiten. Msenka no Jutsu, exclaimed Itachi, releasing a volley of small flames from his throat. Shisui grins at the volley of fireballs. He then goes through the hand signs of ram, monkey, boar, horse, and tiger. Fire release. Great fireball technique, Kaiten. Nkakik no Jutsu, exclaimed Shisui, releasing a large fireball from his lungs. His fireball easily overcame Itachi's. Itachi then released a gasp as he's knees deep in a murky water. His eyes widened in shock as he sees the enormous fireball that rivals the size of a moon, but just before he can melt it, he finds himself back at the training ground with his eyes widening as he feels a tanto blade placed on his neck. He looks back and sees Shisui grinning at him. "How do you like my demonic illusion?" "Murky pool of lagoon, Meijin. Rag no Karekuru," asks Shisui. Shisui removed his blade and Itachi smiles at his friend. "An amazing jinjutsu. How long have you had that jinjutsu?" asked Itachi. "For about 2 weeks," said Shisui. He and Itachi around as they watch Tenzo shunshin in front of them. "You need something?" asked a curious Shisui. Tenzo nods his head. "Is there a place where he can speak?" asked Tenzo, knowing there might be some Uchiha spying on their conversation. He knew there were members of the Uchiha clan who were loyal, while there were others who believed that the Uchiha clan should rule Konohagakure, even though they are in charge of a peaceful police group and only the Uchiha clan are members of this group. Itachi nods his head. "Yes, there is. Follow us," advised Itachi. The group then runs off, heading towards an abandoned Uchiha temple. As they entered the temple, Itachi shot Tenzo a curious gaze. "So what do you need of us? It must be important if you wish to speak with us in private," asked Itachi. Tenzo nods his head. "It is. I have received a mission from Hokage-sama. We wants us to locate and find the root's base and eliminate each root member including Danzo, and he wishes for us to rescue any of the children that may have been kidnapped and forced to join the root," said Tenzo. Shisui massages his chin with his eyes narrowing. "So Hokage-sama has finally found enough evidence so he can kill Danzo without worrying about being replaced or having the Fire Lord impeached. Hokage-sama, do you know where the base might be? If I'm not mistaken, you were once a member." He had heard Kakashi had changed the views of Tenzo, allowing him to see just how cruel Danzo is, but unfortunately, Kakashi was consumed by his own hatred, which led to his dead. Tsukumo must be very disappointed with his son, thought Shisui. The brunette strokes his chin. "Yeah, I used to be a member of the root and I do know where it isn't, but I am unaware if he's still there." Unlike Orochimaru, Danzo isn't a cautious man. He's more arrogant and overconfident, believing he can't be caught, but we still don't know if he had changed locations, said Tenzo. Itachi nods his head. "That is true, but we have a mission that must be completed," said Itachi. Shisui grins at his friend. "I couldn't have said it better than myself. But this mission will be anything but easy," said Shisui, with Itachi and Tenzo agreeing with him. Each one of them were aware of this mission was no doubt labeled a S-rank mission, with only 3 of them against however root ninjas Danzo has. Both Uchiha then turns towards Yamato. "I suppose we move tonight?" Asked the youngest of the Uchiha. Itachi was aware he posed as much as a threat to Orochimaru, but probably not on the same threat level. But Itachi knew the old man wasn't one taken lightly. Danzo is the type of threat you put down like a mad dog. Yamato then turns towards Itachi. Yes, tonight will be the best time. We also don't know if any of his sleeping agents around, but Danzo has lived long enough and he has too much influence. And just like what Hokage Same had said, we as Konoha ninja, it's our duty to protect the will of fire. Said Yamato. Fortunately, because of his training under the crippled man, he knew the location of the route. Both Shisui and Itachi agree with Yamato. They knew Orochimaru was a huge threat, even more than Danzo, but unlike Orochimaru, they had no clues where the snake Sannin might be, but unfortunately for Danzo, they knew where the location of the root hideout and the base is in the land of fire. Yamato then turns towards Shisui. I have a plan on how we can put it in our favor, but for my plan to work, I'll need your help. Asked the brunette Anbu. Whatever it is, I'll complete it to the best of my ability, said Shisui. Itachi stares at the wood user with a curious expression, wonder what kind of plan he has up his sleeve, but he's also hoping whatever plan Yamato will work. Yamato smiles at this. He wasn't surprised that Shisui wanted to help him with his plan. He was aware of how devoted to Konohagakure he was. Shisui, my plan is to place the root under a Jinjutsu, making them fight each other, and the second part of my plan is to place Danzo under a Jinjutsu and making him activate the curse seal on each member of the root. Is your Sharingan strong enough to do it? Asked Yamato. Well, the man had heard of how skilled he is, but he needed to know if Shisui could pull it off. If not, then he'll just have Itachi and Shisui use Jinjutsu. He was aware out of every one of the Uchiha clan, Itachi and Shisui were the strongest of their clan. The two prodigies were even stronger than Fugaku, the man who was nominated to be Hokage. Shisui stares at Yamato with a look of seriousness and confidence, but not overconfident like so many of his fellow clansmen. I can do it, if so I'll use my Manjikyu Sharingan on Danzo and end his root once for all, and hopefully save some of the children. But what about the children who are brainwashed? Asked Shisui with a serious expression. He had a feeling whatever Yamato will say he won't like it. Both Itachi and Shisui watch as the wood release user released a heavy sigh and gains a grim look on his face, making the man seem he's even older than he appears to be. If they are brainwashed by Danzo, then we'll have to kill them. It saddens me that we'll have to kill those children, but those who are brainwashed by Danzo believe their only leader is Danzo, and they will do anything to serve Danzo. Whoever they were before has died. The root ninjas have no real drive, no dream, no desire of their own. Danzo believes a true shinobi don't use emotions, but as you know that isn't true. Said Yamato. Itachi tightened his grip on the small blade. He never did like the idea of killing, he even likes the idea less than before. He just hopes he won't have to kill any children on this mission, but in the back of his head, he had a feeling his hands will be soaked in the blood of the young. Itachi knew his best friend felt the same way, even though they were ninjas of the Uchiha clan, neither of the two enjoys killing like so many of their fellow clansmen. Shisui had always said their clan is cursed by hate after the attack on Naruto. He has been believing in the curse. After all, what kinds of people will not only attack a child, but also try to kill the child? Moments like this make him regret being a ninja. Maybe in a different lifetime, the village wouldn't be consumed by their hatred. Maybe if Yondaime didn't die, then things would have happened differently. Itachi takes a deep breath and activates his Sharingan for his clan, and for the village he'll do what is needed and what is best for the village. He then turns towards Yamato. Then let's put an end to the root. States Itachi. Too many people have suffered because of the cripple's warped mindset. They all knew if the Yondaime was alive, Danzo and the root would have been dead before they realize. Itachi then turns towards Yamato. Yamato, after tonight I will be training to become the Anbu captain. States Itachi. At the level he is now, he can't properly protect his clan. After what happened to Naruto, he wouldn't know what to do if anything happened to Sasuke. Yamato smiles at the young shinobi. I wouldn't doubt it, but before we head out I must warn the two of you about Danzo's elite bodyguards. Said Yamato. Both Uchiha members stare at the man with a serious expression. One of them is a member of the Aburam clan, and the other is from the Hyuga clan. The one from the Aburam clan is Shiakiri Aburam. His insects were mated with a mantis, mutating them into a new deadly species, and the other one is Kokoa Hyuga. Her skills with the Byakugan even surpasses Hirashi. I'll take Shiakiri and Itachi will handle Kokoa. Any questions? Asked Yamato. Both Sharingan users shook their heads negatively. Good, let's head out. Ordered Yamato. Time skip. Location unknown. Thanks to Yamato, they were able to travel through the underground passage of the Land of Fire. Fortunately for the two skilled Sharingan users, they were easily able to pass through any guards by placing a few simple Jinjutsu on them. They didn't even realize they were already dead, but while they had snuck around the root base and killing without making noise. The three of them felt like something was off. This was too easy, even though how skilled the three of them, this was too easy for them. And while they were sure Danzo's brainwashed were at least High Jounin and Low Anbu. Yamato leads the trio to a wide black door, but just as Yamato reaches for the door, Snob Shisui stops him and shook his head no. Yamato can't see the serious and caution the young man's eyes. He quickly pulls his hand back, his eyes widened as he sees a green insect underneath the door. Yamato quickly creates a wall of wood, just the wall covers the three, the insect points at Stinger and fires a flaming drill. Fortunately for Yamato, he had created a second layer protecting, but a big chunk of it was destroyed. What do owe this unexpectedly visit? Asked Danzo in a cold tone. In front of him was Shiakiri and Kokoa, and behind the aged Warhawk 7 root agents. Yamato never takes his eyes off of the man who had brainwashed and experimented on him and many others. Unfortunately, all these men and women are too deep in his brainwashing. Danzo stopped the act. By the order of Hokage-sama, you and the root are to be executed. Everything you've done has already been sent to Hokage-sama, and the daimyo escaping is useless. You are now a missing ninja. Said Yamato. A dark scowl appears on his face. I am what this village needs. I won't let everything I've done go wasted. Kill them. Ordered Danzo. His agents charges at them. Yamato quickly summons branches blocking their path. Yamato runs at Shiakiri, while Itachi blocks Koko's kunai with a tanto. Shisui, go, we'll handle this. Ordered Yamato. Shisui nods his head and shunshin in front of a root member. He quickly cuts off the man's head and glares at the man with his Sharingan, staring at the man. Bring me his eyes. Demanded Danzo. He might not be able to be the Hokage, but he will have Shisui's eyes for me. He watches as the 7-man fall with how quick he is and his talents with ninjutsu. He ducks under a slash and quickly released a volley of fireballs, burning the man. Shisui quickly grabs a man and uses him as a meat shield from the dozens of kunai and shuriken. He then throws man back to the men. They see an explosion tag, but it is too late as they explode along with him. He flips away from the scythe-wielding ninja. He shunshin behind the man. Fire release. Dance of the Phoenix, Kaiten. Fenakusu no dansu. Whispered Shisui. The man is then cut in 5 burning pieces. He quickly sees a man with his sword raise Ichihei Jutsu. Plague of Fear, Ichihei Jutsu. Kimfu no Pasudo. Thought Shisui. The man's eyes quickly became hazy. He then screams fear, slashing and hashing at his root members. Shisui released a burning slash, killing rest. He then turns towards Danzo with his Manjutsu Sharingan. There's no way you're getting these eyes or any eyes. Let me show you the power of the Uchiha clan. Exclaimed Shisui as he summons his green Susanoo. Danzo fires a wind blast, but this did nothing to the large colossal being. The green being raises its hand forming a spear. It's useless Danzo, you are outmatched and outclassed. Exclaimed Shisui. The emerald drill slams into him with such force it broke every bone in his body. Danzo screams in horror as his back is slammed into the stone wall. Shisui appears in front of the broken man and uses his ultimate Jinjutsu Kodamatsukami. Danzo then forms the tiger seal and activates every root member's cursed seal activates and killing every member. Danzo then coughs out blood. It's over Danzo. States Shisui. He then slashes at Danzo, cutting his head clean off at last. We won't have to worry about Danzo's treacherous ways and his kidnapping, and now the only traitor that remains is Orochimaru, but Shisui knew his time will soon come. Time skip 1 week. Many of the shinobi residents were happy that Danzo was finally dead. None of the clan heads had to worry about a surprise visit from Danzo. The only people who weren't happy with the death of Danzo were Hiruzen's teammates. Beside them, everyone else was happy. Many of the ninjas were furious at the things the old man had died. Many felt ashamed themselves for not going after the war-obsessed man. Many of the ninjas had decided to start partying. Many of the children have returned back to their homes, and many were taken to the orphanage who didn't have a home to go back to. Everything seems to have gone back to normal, except for Naruto, whose eyes were still fresh with tears ever since he realized without his limbs, his dream of becoming Hokage was over. With his mind still in pieces, the young crippled child was to be in the hospital till his mind was fixed, and Hiruzen didn't want the boy to be alone, even with both Hibi and Nico watching the child. That still didn't put the old man's mind at ease. The boy also seemed fearful of people he doesn't know. It was clear his fear of people wasn't going away anytime soon. The aged man isn't sure if Naruto's life will ever be normal. On the top floor of the hospital, Naruto stares down at the people with a saddened expression. You can also his eyes seemed dry due to him crying and his tiredness. It wasn't fair. Why did he have to suffer while everyone was having the time of their life and he was ended before it could start? He then looks at the bird in jealousy as it flies wherever it wants while he's stuck to the wheelchair. It's not fair. Mumbled Naruto from the shadows. Both Hibi and Nico look at this with a heartbroken look. Naruto then wraps his arm around his small frame. Why doesn't anybody care about me? Why don't I have a mom? Yelled Naruto, who doesn't understand why this happened to him. Why him? Why did they enjoy hurting him? Why doesn't he have parents like everyone? Why am I alive? Whispered Naruto in a heartbroken tone. He then buried his face into his knees. Maybe if he wasn't alive he would be happy. If he dies, does that mean he can finally see his parents? Maybe if he dies, he won't have to suffer anymore. If he dies, does that mean the bad people won't hurt him? Can he finally feel the warm embrace of a mother? Hibi's body then moves on its own and runs towards Naruto. The blonde child looks at the Anbu agent with untrust and fear. He then feels her arms wrapped around him. What are you doing?" muttered Naruto. "I'm sorry," said Hibi in a low tone, shocking Naruto. This was the first time someone told him sorry. He wasn't sure how to feel or what to do. All his young life people have always made him feel like he was the one at fault, as if his whole existence was a mistake, but this person who he doesn't remember meeting is actually being kind to him. "Who are you?" muttered Naruto. Underneath her mask she looks down at him with a frown. I'm a friend," replied Hibi. "Did you save me?" asked Naruto. The purplinet rubs his back smoothly. This action had confused the two, especially Naruto, since this was all new to him. As for Hibi, she had never acted so kindly to anyone. She wasn't this kind when Kakashi, Guy, and Iruka had lost their parents. Maybe it's because how similar the two are. Both understood what's it like to have the world against them. "I'm sorry I didn't make it in time. I give you my word, Naruto, I'll protect you," declared Hibi. Not sure what to do, he buries his face in the crook of her neck. Thank you," whispered Naruto. A snicker can be heard. Anko turns her head and sees Shisui leaning of the door. Hibi blushes embarrassment as the young Uchiha had watched become soft and nice, and those were never the words when describing her. "Shut up," exclaimed Hibi. "What the hell are you doing here anyway?" mumbled Hibi. "I came to see," said Shisui. Ever since the Danzo mission, Shisui had made it his goal to personally watch over and to befriend him. The crippled child also seems to enjoy Shisui's company. For one instance, Naruto had told Shisui how much he hates and fears the people who had attacked him. Shisui had also told Naruto that they can't harm him. Shisui walks over to them. Naruto stares in confusion as his eye stares at the scroll in his hand. "What's that?" asked Naruto. "A scroll for one-hand seals," says Shisui. Naruto looks down in sadness. "But I can't be a ninja anymore," said a heartbroken Naruto. Shisui grabs hold of the wheelchair's handle, smiles at the child. "It's never too late to learn the basics. Plus, Hokage-sama wants to see you," says Shisui. He looks down at Naruto, who gives Shisui a small nod. Both Nico and Hibi watch as the Uchiha and Uzumaki shunshin away. But them gone, Nico appears from her hiding spot and removes her mask, her brown staring at Hibi, who had removed her mask, and massages the bridge of her nose. "Are you alright, Anko?" asked Nico. Anko groans loudly. "Not really. We're ninjas and we can't even save one child," yelled a frustrated Anko. Uago looks down in shame. Anko was right. They've trained their lives to be able to protect the village and the people, but they couldn't save one child who not only is very important to the village, but is the son of a Hokage and the last member of an extinct clan. Uago looks at Anko. "Then we have to sure this never happened again," states Uago. Anko then grins. "And the next bastards that try to hurt another kid get a snake shoved up their asshole," exclaimed Anko. Uago sighs at the fellow purplinet. She wasn't sure who she felt more sorry for, her fellow Anbu or the enemy. While Anko was chuckling about torturing her enemies within the Hokage tower, Naruto stares at Hiruzen with a confused and uncertain look. "He's not sure if he heard the old man right, huh?" replied Naruto. Hiruzen let out a low chuckle. He was happy there was still some piece of the old Naruto left. "I'm going to Suna for a treaty meeting, and I want you to come with me," says Hiruzen. Naruto still looks unsure if he wants to go. Before he would be excited to see more of the world, but now he feels fear. "In Suna no one knows you, and once we'll return to the village, I'll buy you all the ramen you want," says Hiruzen. With the idea of all the free ramen, Naruto nods his head vigorously. Hiruzen smiles at this. "Very well, we'll head out soon. Shikaku Neru will be my replacement," said Hiruzen. Iruka turns to the aged Kage. "Who will be your guards?" asked Iruka. "My daughter'll take in Shisui Uchiha," says Hiruzen. Maybe this trip will help Naruto, and maybe all the child needs is to be away from Konoha. From what he heard, Rasa also has children of his own. He hopes one day Naruto could be friends with Rasa's children. The child needs all the friends he can get. To say the travel from Konoha to Suna was easy was understatement. Hiruzen will take, and Shisui had also seemed to underestimate just how severe his anthropophobia. From the very moment they left Hiruzen's office, Naruto had curled himself in a ball and looking at everyone that comes near him in fear. The only time when he finally calmed down is when they left the land of fire. Each of them had felt enormous guilt and felt like they've failed Naruto. Both Sarutobi members still had a hard time understanding why Asuma would hurt Naruto, especially since he had spent years protecting the people. Shisui had felt shame in his clan in attacking a child. He honestly believes if his clan keeps going down dark path, it will lead to the clan's destruction. He must lead them in a new direction, just like how the village is towards a new direction. Just as they finally arrive at large sand gates, Naruto quickly notices the two guards and begins to shiver in fright at the two guards. Shisui pats Naruto on the shoulder. "It's going to be alright, you're with us, we won't let anything happen to you." While Shisui was trying to calm the scared Naruto, Hiruzen was busy talking with the guard. The doors open, revealing Rasa, the Yondaime Kazuki and user of gold dust. Beside him is his eldest child Tamari, Baki, and Lady Chiyo. The leaf ninjas bow at Rasa. The sand ninjas do the same. "Welcome Hokage-sama, I'm pleased that you made it," says Rasa. The journey was interesting, says Hiruzen. Rasa turns towards his daughter who bows at the aged Sarutobi. This is Tamari, my eldest child. I believe that it was important for her to see the political side of the ninja world. I see, brought a guest, said Rasa as his eyes turn on Naruto. He and the other sand inhabitants are stunned as they stared at the many injuries that covered his tanned skin. Rasa, Baki, and Chiyo stare in horror even with their experience as hardened Sunagakur ninjas, have never seen these injuries on someone so young. There was an incident back home. Naruto here suffers from a fear of people. I believe that he needed a new scenery, says Hiruzen. Rasa could see there was more to the story, but this was neither the time nor place for such talk. He quickly gave Tamari a stern look, making the young blonde stopping from asking serious questions. Understood. Shall we head to my office? Asked Rasa. Hiruzen nods his head. Tamari glances at the boy who's shaking in fear. This causes her sigh, but the stubborn born wasn't done. Hi, I'm Tamari, says Tamari. DP, please don't hurt me, stuttered Naruto. Tamari pouts at Naruto. I'm not gonna hurt you, whispered Tamari. Really? Stuttered Naruto. Is Tamari shy? Teased Chiyo, grinning at the blonde duo. Tamari's cheeks blush in embarrassment. I am not, exclaimed Tamari. Her sudden yelling had seemed to scare Naruto, causing him to in his seat. Chiyo cautiously walks towards the blonde Uzumaki. He cowers in his seat, seeing how scared he is. Chiyo stops walking towards him and smiles warmly at him. Hello, little one, says Chiyo. She waves at Naruto. He jumps back as her prosthetic arm sprouts 4 compartments and then generates a chakra shield. What happened to your HH hand? Asked Naruto. It's a prosthetic, neat huh? Says Chiyo, giving her a grandparent feeling. I have a workshop at my house, would like to see. Your friend Shisui can come too, says Chiyo. Hey, I wanna come, exclaimed Tamari. Come along, Tamari, orders Rasa. Tamari bows her head. Yes, father, says Tamari. Before she walks to her father, she takes one quick glance at her father. She may be interested in Naruto, but she wouldn't dare disobey her father. After all, she is the daughter of Rasa. Naruto, not trusting his voice, looks at Hiruzen, who nods his head at the young boy. Naruto turns to Chiyo, but doesn't look her in eyes. He nods his head, causing Chiyo to smile. Well, then let's get going, says Chiyo. The two follow her as she leads them to her home. She then gains a heartbroken expression. This Naruto here reminds me of Sasori and Gaara, thought Chiyo. Anyone with a brain could tell Naruto was tortured. He's obviously Minato's kid. You have to be blind and stupid not to see it. So that's what you actually huh? He and Gaara are really too similar, both child of a cage and both curved at birth with a great burden. Thought Chiyo. She knew the child needed help and help is what he gets. Fortunately, the streets were dead, so the journey to her home was peaceful. As they enter her home, Naruto noticed a photo of a retard kid. Once they entered her workshop, he stares at the variety of puppets. What is this? Stuttered Naruto. Even Shisui was shocked at the number of puppets. He knew she was the greatest puppet master in Suna, but this was amazing. There were countless puppets everywhere. These are puppets here, and Suna puppetry is one of the ancient and strongest fighting styles, and if you lose an arm you can always get a prosthetic arm to replace the one you lost, says Chiyo. She watches. He looks up at Chiyo with a pleading expression. Can it make someone walk? Asked Naruto. Yes, said Chiyo in a kind tone. She watches as his left eye begins to slowly cry. Chiyo binds down to his level. I'll make you a deal, Naruto. I'll give you a new arm and legs if you agree to learn the art of puppetry. How about it? Asked Chiyo. Naruto nods his head vigorously due to him not being able to find his voice. With the idea of walking and having both arms is incredible. He knew the life of a civilian was not for him. In his heart, he knew the life of a ninja was him. He has to be ninja deep in his gut. The young boy knew his life will be miserable if he doesn't take her offer. Why don't you look around? I'll have you standing in no time. Chiyo then begins building him his prosthetic limbs. Shisui then guides Naruto the warehouse. He sees humanoid and animal puppets that vary from various sides. He also saw various ninja tools and poisons his eyes catch dark maroon colored scorpions that are inside. He stares in awe at scorpions. Something about them seemed to catch his eye. Those are some of Sunagakur's deadliest arachnids, the red dusk scorpion, says Chiyo. Shisui turns Naruto around facing Chiyo. His eye becomes watery as he stares at the prosthetic limbs. With the help of Chiyo and Shisui, they attached his new limbs. Give it a go, says Chiyo. Naruto nods his head. He tests his new arm by flexing each wooden finger. Seeing his new arm works, Naruto stares down at his legs. He takes a deep breath and slowly inches himself to the ground. As his feet touch the floor he stumbles and falls to the knee. He then looks at the ground. He glares at the floor. They did this. It's their fault I'm like this. I'm scared of them, but I hate them. I hate them so much. What gave them the right to torture and burn me? I won't forgive them, not now, not ever. Thought Naruto. With a found drive he stood up and takes one step. Glad that he actually stood up, he takes one more step. Feeling optimistic he tries to walk. He took several more steps. His then begins crying. Naruto hugs Chiyo. Thank you, thank you, thank you, cried Naruto, happy and relieved his dream isn't over. It's going to be an okay, little one, everything is going to be okay, says Chiyo. Naruto nods his head and mutters thank you. After a few minutes Naruto stops crying. Yakno, those limbs of yours are just regular wooden prosthetic, now you did promise to learn puppetry. Asks Chiyo. He nods his head in agreement. She brightened at this. Glad because I'll teach you all I can. This means you'll have to create your puppets and limbs gimmicks. Do you think you can do it? Asks Chiyo. Naruto nods his head. Granny. Chiyo, can you make me a puppet that can protect? Asked Naruto. She nods her head. Naruto smiles at this. For the remaining, the 3 days he had soaked in everything taught him, but he had only learned the basics when it came to learning seals and poisons. He had easily learned it in no time. Well, the seals were much easier to understand and learn than poisons. Chiyo watches as Naruto uses chakra strings to control the puppet and make it flex its fingers. Chiyo stares in amazement. In a short time he had already learned to control the upper torso. For the past days, she kept seeing her grandson in Naruto. You've progressed quite nicely, today is your last day. Asks Chiyo. Naruto, who's focused on the puppet and nods his head. She smiles at him. I have a few things you, says Chiyo. She hands him a few books containing books about puppets, poisons, and toxins. Chiyo then hands him a white scroll. He looks at her in confusion. Open it, says Chiyo. He opens up a scroll and a white armor puppet. It wears formal brown robes and ivory masks with gold marks. What is this? Wondered Naruto. Even though the puppet is white and gold, it still gives off an emotionless presence. Basically temple guards from Star Wars. Chiyo smiles with pride. This is White Temple Shuriken. It's a puppet armor, says Chiyo. Puppet armor? Repeated Naruto. She nods her head in agreement with this. A puppeteer doesn't have to worry about the weakness of a puppet master. In short, this puppet is made to protect the user, says Chiyo. Naruto's eyes sparkling with happiness. Finally a way for him to fight and protect himself. With this new puppet, no one can hurt him again. He walks to the puppet, placing his hand on the puppet. The back opens up and Naruto gets in the puppet. Once inside, the back closes. He flexes his fingers. Suddenly a long thick needle blade comes out from the palm from inside. Naruto narrows his eye with this. I'll kill anyone who tries to attack me. Thought Naruto. Just like the legendary phoenix, he is reborn with a new dream and nothing will stop him. 2 months later, in the ever-growing forest of the young Naruto can be seen walking the lush green leaves. He can be seen wearing a black long-sleeve shirt, black leather gloves, gray pants, and gray ninja shoes. He also wears a black mask resembling that of an Anbu mask. He would be wearing his Shuriken puppet, but since he's not going in town he saw no reason to wear it. Naruto is also carrying a container filled with poisonous bugs, reptiles, and plants. Today he was collecting poison samples to create a new poison for the poison he wants. He needs to test various of poisons. Sure, he likes to learn new jutsu, but with poisons, it doesn't matter how strong you are, because even if you're the strongest shinobi, that won't help you when you're dying from the inside. He'd also like to go to the forest of death. In there most animals and plants are poisonous. He had heard it was dangerous, but to him, the people are worse than any animal. The humans are evil and disgusting creatures. Hey, let go. Yelled a loud voice. Naruto thinks about walking the opposite direction, but he shot the idea down when the voice sounded young. He walks towards the voice and finds a young wolf trying to eat a turtle. Naruto stares in confusion. Not seeing anyone, he sighs and decides to walk away, but he suddenly hears a shout. He turns around and notices the turtle is crying. Let go. Stupid. Yelled the turtle. Naruto extends out his hand and a senbon needle is shot from his palm. The needle lands in front of the wolf. The young cub jumps back and takes off running with the wolf running away. Naruto takes off his mask and massages the temple of his forehead. He then looks at the turtle and notices it is bigger than most young turtles. Another big hint that this turtle was different from others is its skin is bright aqua color and around its arm is a blue armband. Turtle looks at Naruto with its bright amber eyes. Thank you. I thought that furball was gonna get me for sure. Hey, what's your name? I'm C. Cove, Yumari. You dress funny. Do you want to be friends? Do ya? Asked Yumari in a fast tone. He looks at Naruto with a wide smile. Surprisingly, he was able to hear the turtle completely. Sure, and I'm Naruto Uzumaki. What are you? Asked the blonde with a confused look. I'm a summoning turtle from Cane Cove. You should see Papa, he's huge. And Grandpa Cannon Turtle, Kaian Toru. He's super cool. He once fought a Sobu. Exclaimed the excited Yumari. Summoning turtle? Is he like the crows Shisui and Itachi summon? Thought Naruto. How big is your father? Asked Naruto. As big as the Hokage Tower. Hey, I have an idea. Why don't you sign the turtle contract? We haven't had a summoner since the first war. Sign it, come on. It'll be fun. Do it, Naruto. Pleaded Yumari in a childish tone. He quickly summons a large green scroll. He opens the scroll showing him the people who have signed it. He sees names like Taichi Ringo, Sasuke Shinso, Tadam's Ai, Izayami Kazuhana, and Matsunai. Write your name and blood, says Yumari, seeing nothing wrong with signing it, but he'll have to find a way to summon them. Naruto bites his finger and signs it. After Yumari told him the hand signs, he vanished, returning back to Cane Cove. The next day Iruka is once again trying to settle the children down, he sighs and yells loudly silencing the many children. Mizuki snickers at Iruka, even with the newly added students, the classroom had even become louder. After all, the children can actually be kids and can have a childhood. Iruka smiles at his students while some of the kids were used to the scarred man's smile, but to Shino, Shin, Fu, and Torun his smile seems different, as if he's in a much better mode. I'm glad to have your attention today. We have someone rejoining us today. Everyone, I would like you to welcome back Naruto Uzumaki. Says Iruka. Many of the children were curious since the last they heard he had an accident. Just as Naruto walks inside the classroom, everyone was dead silent. One seemed to know what to say. He simply took a seat next to Ino, who shivers in fear. Many years has lasted since the attack on Naruto Uzumaki. One of the many things that had changed was that Hiruzen had stepped down as the Hokage he had named Itachi Uchiha. The god-aim Hokage, with Itachi being the first Uchiha Hokage, had surprised many and welcoming one too. Since everyone admired Itachi, he had caught a rare disease, but thanks to Tsunade, she had healed him, with Danzo no longer manipulating things behind the scene. The Uchiha clan were able to be respected and no longer fear. Many of the Uchiha members had become Anbu and others had become 12 guardian ninja. But this story isn't about Itachi, it's about Naruto, puppet master and turtle summoner. Over the next years, Naruto's hatred for people have increased to endpoints. Hardly trust anyone, and he can always be seen using his puppet armor. Many people have even forgotten what he looked like. Only a small portion of people know what he looks like. But it's time to get back to the story. Team 7 will be Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Shin. Your sensei will be Shisui Uchiha, said Iruka. Hell yeah. Love conquers all. Exclaimed Sakura, but she quickly sits down as Iruka glares at her. Teammate will be Kiba Inuzuka, Hinata Haikta, and Shino Aburam, and your sensei will be Kurenai Iki, says Iruka. Team 10 will be Shikamaru Nara, Ino Yamanaka, and Choji Akimichi, and your sensei will be Iltake Sarutobi, says Iruka. He then glares at Ino, stopping her from thinking about interrupting the Yamanaka heir. The blonde girl quickly sat back down. Choji snickers at his friend, who glares at the overweight kid. Team 9 will be Naruto Uzumaki, Sai, and Yakumo Kurama. Your sensei will be Anko Mitarashi, says Iruka. Sai smiles at Naruto. I look forward to be working with you, said Sai, but Naruto ignored the pale-skinned child, who looks at Naruto in confusion. And Team 6 will be Fu Yamanaka, Torin Aburam, and Isaribi. Your sensei will be Yamato. Congratulations on each of you. From here things will only get much harder. I hope to see each of you bloom in a respect. Good morning, brats. Roared Anko, shocking the man and many of the children. Anko, what the hell? Would you crash through the widow? Exclaimed Iruka. She simply messes with his hair, causing Iruka to twitch in annoyance. You worry too much. Now, Team 9 with me. Yelled Anko. She then leads the 3 children out of the room, while 2 children glances at the armored Uzumaki. Ever since he had returned, he had always kept to himself. He was skillful, but he never really talked to anyone. He was even more quiet than Shino. Many of the children have tried to befriend the puppeteer, but he wasn't interested in making friends. Iruka mentally wished Naruto good luck. He then turned to the other children. As I was saying, I hope each of you bloom in a respected ninja of the village. Now remember, there are no shortcuts in the world. Now please get to know each other while you wait for your sensei to come. Says Iruka with smile. The man hoped these children will survive the hardships, especially Naruto. Since Naruto had woke up, he's been training non-stop until he became a special jounin. While he was a teacher at the academy, he would often go on missions. The pale child stares in curiosity as they are in front of training ground 44, but it is more commonly known as the Forest of Death. It wasn't like any of the other training grounds. Usually only high-ranked ninjas enter the place, and when the Chunin exams is being held. Training ground 44, repeated Yakumo. She had heard this was the most dangerous place. Anko grins widely. That's right. Training 44 are more commonly known as the Forest of Death. Exclaimed Anko. She grins widely as she watches both Sai and Yakumo become stiff as a board. Now, before we get started, I think a little introductions are in order. My name Anko Mitarashi. I like sake, dango, kurenai-chan, blood and torture. Says Anko. Both Yakumo and Sai shiver in fear, causing Anko to chuckle, but no one knew how Naruto reacted since he was in his armor. They had no idea what his facial expression were. I hate traitors, people who steal my dango, white snakes, people who hurt innocent children, ignorant people, and idiots. And my dream is to kill a snake. Okay, Pasty, your turn, says Anko pointing at Sai. The former root member nods his head. Right, my name is Sai. My hobbies are drawing, practicing my ninjutsu, and training with my brother Shin. I also enjoy Uden. My dislikes are people who belittle my older brother, Root, and traitors, and my dream is to make as many friends as possible. Says Sai. That's right, he was one of the Root kids we rescue, but it seems like he's still socially awkward. Not bad as most, but still bad, thought Anko. She then turns to Yakumo. Stare, said Anko. Yakumo sighs. I guess it's my turn then. My name is Yakumo Kurama. My hobbies are Jinjutsu, practicing Jinjutsu, Kurenai-sensei, painting, and yakisoba. says Yakumo. Sai looks at Yakumo in awe. My dislikes are those who belittle my clan and those who look down on Jinjutsu, and my dream is to be a powerful kunoichi, says Yakumo with a smile. Anko grins at this. Everyone then turns to the armored Naruto. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, my likes are turtles, ramen, puppets, Poyasenchio, Iruka sensei, and animals. I hate humans, traitors, ignorant people, stupid people, child abusers, and those who can't tell the difference between a scroll and person. My dream, no, my goal is to be the next Hokage and the most powerful puppeteer in the world, says Naruto from inside his helmet, his soul eye narrowed in hatred as he remembers those who hurt them. Both Sai and Yakumo were curious when he said he hates human. After all, it was a S-rank secret. What happened to Naruto? No one but high-level Jounin and some Chunin were aware what happened to him. All the others knew was he was attacked and put in a coma. So, no one his age actually knew what actually happened, and no one dare ask. Since he woke, he became cold and gained a hatred of people, refusing to get close to anyone. In Naruto's mind, he can't trust anyone. People were worse than any animal or monster. Even a Biju is more trustworthy than a human if they won't torture and butcher their own kind. Anko then whistles with grin on her face. Well, you brats are interesting, but I'm afraid I have some bad news. That Genin test was nothing but to weed out those who actually have what it takes to become Benin, and unfortunately for you three, I get to choose what your test will be, and your test will be to survive the forest of death, exclaimed Anko, shocking the three children. If you three are able to survive until the time runs out, you pass, but if you can't, then your asses get sent back to the academy, roared Anko. She then opens the gate. She then hands each of them a stopwatch. If you three are still alive after 5 hours, you passed. Good luck, brats, says a smirking Anko. She then shunshin away. SS Surav, shuddered Yakumo. What does that mean? Questioned a shaken Sai. He was wondering how they were supposed to survive. Only Jounin and Chunin enter this training ground. Sai then turns to the puppeteer Uzumaki and sees him walking off. Where are you going? We should stay together, exclaimed Sai. You can stay, but we're out in the open, says Naruto. The others quickly follow him, not wanting one of the animals to eat them. Naruto then turns to them and points both his hands at them, shocking them. And then Naruto, what are you doing? Stuttered a fearful Yakumo. Sai grabs his tanto. Two darts fire from his gauntlets, passion by them, shocking them. The two of them hear a loud thump. They turn around, seeing two large tigers on the ground. Poisonous dart took them down, thought a shocked Yakumo. Sai smiles at the puppeteer. Thank you, says the smiling ninja artist. Naruto turns to Sai. I didn't do it out of the kindness of my heart. I only did because you two have some use, said Naruto in a cold, shocking the two of them. Besides, didn't you hear me during introductions? I said I hate humans, said Naruto in a cold tone. A cold shiver went through the two. But we should work together, said Yakumo. Sai nods his head. She's right, this forest is dangerous. We have a better chance at success by working together, advised Sai. Maybe so, but people are far more dangerous than any of the creatures in this forest, said Naruto. He then sighs, knowing what they said was true. Literally everything in this forest was either trying to eat them or kill them. He still didn't trust them. TSK, I suppose you are right, but I still don't like you two or trust you. And let me give you a word of advice. If you think backstabbing me, I'll kill you where you stand, growled Naruto with his eye glaring at them with despise. There was only a small amount of people he actually trusted. Yakumo sighs at the stubborn blonde. Well, I guess that's the best we'll get, thought Yakumo with a shake of her head. At least she was paired with Kiba, Sakura, and Ino. Those three were unnecessary loud, especially Sakura and Ino. She didn't like either of the two, believing them to be an insult to Kunoichi. Since we will be working together, I suggest we explain what we can do. I'm talented in Kenjutsu and Ink Ninjutsu, said Sai, causing both to turn to Sai. He then pulls out a scroll and draws a little bird. They watch in surprised as the ink bird comes to alive. I specialize in Jinjutsu. My Jinjutsu is so strong I can make them real, says Yakumo. They then turn to Naruto. I'm a puppeteer. I specialize in poisons, and having hidden compartments in my puppet, I know some seals and can even summon turtles, said Naruto. He then shows one of his puppet's ability by allowing a blades to come out. It's also laced with a powerful poison, says Naruto. The two nod their heads. Of course the two were confused. How did he learn a Sunagakur technique? But neither knew how to ask it. From above one of the giant trees, Anko is sitting on a branch eating dango and drinking sake. I wonder if they can make it, thought Anko as she sipped some more sake. She knew with Naruto's hatred for people made it hard for him to work together with other, but she wanted to see how well they can work together. Yakumo then turned towards Sai. Can you create some birds to scout the skies? Asked the brunette. It would be smart to know where other animals might be. They didn't want to walk into the home of a giant tigers or whatever animal that lives here. Sai nods his head. He then creates a bird. Sai hops onto the bird. The ink bird quickly takes to the sky. Sai looks down and doesn't see any animals or any of the man-eating plants. Sai's eyes widened as he sees a group of tigers that were a few miles away from them. Well, he wasn't wrong about being in one place was dangerous, thought Sai. The pale child then flies down, causing the two to turn towards the ninja artist. There's a family of tigers just west from us. There doesn't seem to be any animals over there, though, said Sai, pointing left from them. Then that's where we go, starts Naruto walking towards the direction Sai pointed at. I will last the rest, and I will become the most powerful puppeteer and the strongest Hokage. Thought Naruto with conviction. His face then narrowed as he feels the ghost pain of his eye. He then blocks out the memory. Even now the pain he felt was never forgotten. He would often have nightmares about that night. They're dead, there's no need to remember a corpse, thought Naruto in anger. He knew he couldn't lose focus, all he can do is move forward. Plus the ones had torture him were no doubt being tortured while in hell. A loud howl can hurt, alerting the three. Naruto then raises his right arm, Sai has his Tanto in a reverse grip, and Kurama has a kunai. From the shadows of forest they can see a pair of yellow eyes. A large wolf stalls out of woods behind it. Another pack of wolves come out, each snarling at them. I am the wrong person to be messed with, you dumb dogs. I'm no one's prey. Yellow secret technique. Helio's flash, Kahigi Harisk. Said Naruto. Two small barrels appear onto of his hand, on the side of each of his wrist, and another one comes out of his palm. His prosthetic hand then rotates in a rapid pace. Flames are then released from the barrels, creating a fire tornado, burning the wolves to alive, reducing them nothing but ash. Both Sai and Yakumo stare in shock at the giant flame tornado. Another bull can heard, but this one sounded sad. Let's go. Said Naruto, already leaving. The only thing on his mind was passing the test and becoming a ninja of Konoha. He then narrowed his eyes, as he feels like they are being watched. He then turns and notices Sai seems to notice too, but not Yakumo. Oh well, it's not my problem. Thought Naruto. If she were to die, it isn't his fault. If she were to die, it isn't his fault, it's her own for being weak. That's the world they live in, the strong survives, while the weak struggle. Of course there's nothing wrong with being weak, but it is your fault for remaining weak. And Naruto refuses to ever be weak. Even if his Shuriken were to be broken, leaving without a puppet, he had plans to ensure he won't be defenseless. That's why his prosthetic limbs has various of hidden compartments. He even created a powerful deadly nail polish, with even the smallest scratch can kill you. Turtles had also trained him in their Kame Kata. They even trained him how to use a sword. Kame Cove also has quite a few poisonous plants and fungi, so he isn't to worry about his puppet being destroyed. From the shadows of the forest a pair of yellow eyes stares at three children. It then launches itself at Yakumo, who stares at the large snake in surprised, but before she can become its lunch, an ink tiger quickly picks her up, just narrowing, dodging the large serpent. It then hissed in anger at the list of food. The snake snarls at Sai. He throws a flash bomb at the snake, blinding it. The three quickly uses this distraction to flee from sight. Thanks to Sai, the three of them are now flying high above the ground. Thanks to Sai's ink birds, with its prey now gone, causes the snake to hiss in anger and begins searching new prey. Yakumo turns to Sai with a smile. Thank you, Sai. You're a lifesaver. Exclaimed Yakumo, causing Sai to blush at the smiling brunette. He then looks down at his hands, not knowing how to react. None of the girls at the academy never really paid him any attention. They were mostly focused on Sasuke. Why you're welcome, says the stuttering Sai with his cheek pink in color. Is this how Sasuke feels? Wondered Sai. The only females who didn't seem to fawn all over Sasuke was Hinata, Isaribi, and Yakumo. He didn't find Sakura cute, but he had a small crush on Ino. He just didn't like how loud the two girls were. They were almost as loud as Kiba. Yakumo then turns Naruto. I think it'll be a better we stay in the sky, at least for now, says Yakumo. Naruto nods his head. Right, but where? Wondered Naruto. They have only just arrived in forest, not even an hour, and they already being attacked left and right. Yakumo smiles at Naruto. Leave that to me, says Yakumo, confusing Naruto, who just shrugged his shoulders. He watches as she goes through various of hand signs secret technique. Hidden Hollow Tree, Hijutsu. Kakusuretich Kai, said Yakumo. The two then watch as one of the trees begin to change into a large oak tree with a giant hole into it. Both stare in surprised. I did say I knew Jinjutsu. My Jinjutsu is so powerful it can even cause illusions to be real, said Kurama. The only people who were able to deactivate her Jinjutsu was her first sensei Kurenai, her fellow clan, and those from the Uchiha clan. I'm impressed, says Naruto, causing Yakumo to look at him with a deadpan expression. She watches as he summons a puppet hawk. He then pulls out a small vial. He then puts it into the bird's back, causing its eyes to turn yellow. What's that? Asked a confused Yakumo. Hawk, it's a special puppet that's powered by a chakra battery. It's not used for battle, so I used to collect samples, states Naruto. Sample? Repeated a confused Sai. What kind of sample? Asked Yakumo. Poison, says Naruto. Right, poison, I guess I could have guessed, says Yakumo, for feeling stupid for asking such a dumb question, and I'm not sure what else is in this forest that can be useful, at least to Naruto of all people. Thought Yakumo. She watches as the bird quickly flies off, no doubt searching for poisons for its creator. As the three land in the tree, both are surprised with how real it feels. Sai touches the wall and stares in shock. I can't believe this is all a Jinjutsu. I thought the ones capable of this were the Uchiha with Manjutsu Sharingan. Exclaimed a shocked Sai as he runs his hands over the roots. Yakumo beams at the praise. Most people look down on Jinjutsu, seeing it as inferior compared to ninjutsu, so hearing someone compliment her Jinjutsu just made the girl smile. Manjutsu Sharingan. You mean the one that Hokage-sama has? Asked Naruto. Sai nods his head yes, Hokage-sama eyes are powerful enough to put some in a coma, I even heard he has this sword that makes seals anything among him invincible. Of course Hokage-sama isn't the only one with a Mangekyou Sharingan, I've also heard his father, his best friend Shisui, Naori and Naka each have a Mangekyou Sharingan. Said Sai Itachi and Shisui were also the most skilled members of the clan, so it was no real surprise one of them became the Hokage. Many were even saying Itachi and Shisui power rivaled the power of the legendary Minato Namikaze. Yakumo then turns to Sai. So, what should we do now? Just wait it out. Asked Yakumo. Sai massages his chin. I'm not sure. What do you think? Asked Sai turning towards Naruto. I doubt we could be here very long, it's only a matter of time before one of animals finds us or if this Jinjutsu disappears, but I think we should rest for now. States Naruto. He then leans back and rests his head on his shoulder. Both Sai and Yakumo look at each other confusion. Is he asleep? Wondered Yakumo. I'm not sure. He didn't even remove his puppet armor. Have you ever seen his face? Asked Sai. Yakumo shook her head negatively. No, but I heard some of our classmates said he has blonde hair and blue eyes, but I didn't actually think he was going to keep it on the whole time. Exclaimed Yakumo. She then turns to Naruto, notices the snores coming from me either, but he has the right idea, said Sai. He then closes his eyes, Yakumo quickly follows to closing her eyes. A few hours later, a loud banging can heard waking the three up, they rush out and see the tigers climbing up the tree. Shit. We gotta move. Exclaimed Sai. He quickly summons his bird drawings, they quickly hop on the bird leaving the tree, the tigers quickly begins to follow after them. This is no use. They'll just keep chasing. Said Naruto. He then quickly jumps off the bird, shocking the two summoning jutsu. Exclaimed Naruto. A huge cloud covers him as soon disappears. Naruto is standing on a giant turtle, the turtle is Kasoku, one of the warrior turtles, and one of the fastest. The turtle is aqua blue in color with red eyes, it has a spiky brown shell, and it wears black arm warmers on each of its limbs. Kasoku looks around seeing it surrounded by tigers. Naruto-sama, what's going on? Where are we? Asked the giant turtle curious. The forest of death. My new sensei is testing my team to see if we could survive here for 5 hours. Said Naruto. 5 hours? Some sensei you have. Said Kasoku. He then narrowed his eyes as he sees a tiger charge at him, but he quickly swats the tiger away sending it at the tree, but the blow was so strong it killed the tiger. The other tigers growl in anger causing Kasoku to smirk at them. His arms and head enters his shell earth release. Heavy mountain technique, Doten. Amayama no Jutsu. Exclaimed Kasoku. This technique hardened his shell to the point he can even ram his way through steel. This technique is one of Turtle Clan's unique ninjutsus. Kasoku then begins to spin around becoming a blur. The tigers far too slow to follow as Kasoku rams into them, crushing them to bits. The giant turtle launches itself high in the air. Turtle slam, T-Taramu. Exclaimed Kasoku, slamming himself into the ground that sent a huge shockwave, sending all the tigers flying. Many of them were crushed by debris, while others were slammed against the ground. 3 giant ink rhinos then charged at the tigers while some of the other tigers then begins to attack each other. Kasoku then turned towards Naruto. You got some good teammates, said Kasoku. Naruto just shrugged his shoulders, he then pops his head out and fires a water bullet that literally killed them on contact. He then slams his claw on the ground, causing rock spikes to kill the rest of the tiger. With each of them dead, Kasoku then returns back to Cane Cove. They then hears a whistle. They look up seeing Anko eating dango. You brats are impressive. You sure got teamwork worked out and you survived. Smirked Anko. She was even more surprised that Naruto not only had a summoning contract, but she was even more surprised the size of the turtle. Yakumo stares in confusion. Wait. Does that mean? Asked Yakumo. Anko nods her head causing Yakumo to gain a 1000-watt smile. Sai smiles to himself. Naruto just nods his head from above. The puppet hawk lands on his shoulder. He then opens the chest plate collecting the ingredients. He then seals away the puppet. Congrats, Team Anko. Tomorrow we'll meet at training ground 15 at 6 in the morning for our first mission, said Anko. She then leads the 3 kids out of the training ground. She then grins at 3 of them shunshin away the 2, then watches Naruto makes his way home. Both sweat drop at the antisocial Naruto. The others then head home as well. As soon as Naruto enters his apartment, he removes his puppet armor. He then runs his hand through his hair without his armor. He wears a mesh armor with navy accents under an identical t-shirt. On the back of the shirt is the Uzumaki clan symbol with a simple black belt around the waist and dark blue pants, black shinobi sandals. His left hand is coated with purple poisonous nail polish and he wears a blue forehead protector. Well, that was much harder than I thought it was going to be, but I still pass, and my teammates aren't as useless than I thought. Well, at least Sakura and Ino aren't my teammates, said Naruto. His stomach then growls in hunger. The blonde then begins to heat up some leftover chicken and potatoes. Time skip. Naruto turns to Anko with an annoyed look. Anko-sensei, you said we had a mission, right? Asked Naruto. Anko nods her head at the puppeteer. Okay, then why the hell are we painting a fence? growled annoyed Naruto, not happy his first mission was basically a chore. It was a complete waste of his time and talent to be painting a fence when the owner could just do it themselves. Anko snickered at the three children were quite displeased with their first mission. Anko just devours another dango. Anko laughs at her students holding her gut. You brats didn't really think you'll exactly get a dangerous mission, did you? Laughed Anko. The three were quite annoyed at their sensei. Yes, I did. Yelled Yakumo with her eyebrow twitching. If we were still in third grade ninja war, then yeah, you three would be sent on a dangerous mission. You brats have to work your way up each freshly new gen, and does you three all know different? Grinned Anko as she watches them paint the fence in frustration. How about after this we train, said Anko. Almost as if a switch was flipped, the three quickly begins to paint each of the fences much faster. This causes Anko to snicker. Well, at least I know how to motivate them. At least I don't have an idiot or a fangirl, thought Anko. She almost felt sorry for Shisui and Take almost felt sorry. But the three of them finished with the fences. They head back to the Hokage office and sees Itachi getting through a small stack of paperwork. Anko grins at Itachi. Mission complete, Hokage-sama, said Anko. Itachi nods his head. Any problems? Asked Itachi. She shook her head negatively. Nah, besides the brats complaining, says Anko, causing Itachi to let out a low chuckle, knowing how boring and tedious the D-rank missions can be, but he was glad with the potential of this year's candidates. Stupid lazy citizens, muttered Naruto, causing everyone snicker. He then scoffed at team. He then turned to the goddamn Hokage. When do we get a higher rank mission? Asked the Uchiha Kage. When your sensei deems you ready, if that is all, your team is dismissed. Said Itachi. Each of them bowed to their Hokage, but everyone knew Naruto didn't like what he had, but he dealt with it. Anko gives him a salute. See you later, Hokage-sama, have fun with the paperwork. Teased Anko as she lead her team out of the office. Itachi stares at the paperwork with a sigh. He then creates 3 clone and orders each of them to do the paperwork. With Itachi working on paperwork, Anko lead her team back to the training ground. She then turns to them with a wide grin on her face. Today I'll be teaching you brats to walk on tree without your hands, said Anko. She chuckles at the confused look on both Sai and Yakumo's face. But I already know how to, the turtles taught me, states Naruto. Well, that's good, why don't you explain it then, says Anko. Naruto nods his head. He then turns to his teammates. This is called the tree climbing practice. This training involves focusing a fixed amount of chakra to the bottom of one's feet and using that to climb a tree without using one's hands. If the stream of chakra is too weak, the user will lose their footing on the tree and fall off. If it is too strong, the user will be pushed away from the tree, causing the tree to break around the point of contact, and the user will fall. Says Naruto. The two quickly begin trying to do the technique. Well, Yakumo was better at learning it than Sai, but neither of two kept trying to master it. Anko then turns to the puppeteer. Have you learned the next step? Asked Anko. She grins as he shook his head negatively. Good, then I'll teach you the water walking technique. Said the snake summoner. She then creates a clone, leads Naruto to a small lake. This training method is used to gain better chakra control. To do this, you have to be emitting a constant stream of chakra from the bottom of their feet and using the repellent force to walk across the water's surface. Said Anko. Naruto nods his and do what he was told. It took only 2 attempts to be floating on the water. That was fast, but he is a puppet master after all. Thought Anko. She then smirks at Naruto. How about we make this interesting, says Anko with a half smirk on her face. How so? Asked a curious Naruto. Simple, a little one-on-one. I wanna see just how good you, grinned Anko. She gets in a fighting stance at which Naruto does to. She then charged at him, causing him to duck low. He then sends a low right jab. She jumps on her and slams her leg down, hitting him in the head. He then does a low handstand, kicking her in the gut. He then send a flying backflip kick to her gut, once again pushing her back. Anko grins at strength behind his kick. She then grabs him by the foot and sending skidding across the water. She then vanished from his sight, shocking him. She then punched him in the gut, leaving him gasping for air. She then quickly puts him in a headlock. Got you, my precious brat, grinned Anko. She then released him from her hold. I'm impressed, the turtles taught you well, said Anko with a grin. Thank you, sensei, the turtles have been a great ally. I'm honored to be their summoner and I couldn't ask for a better summon. Said Naruto with pride. To him they were best summon animals in the world. Anko smiles at this, glad he doesn't view his summon animals as mere tools to be used like most. It also helped that them seem loyal to him and not demanding like Mana. That's glad to hear, you must trust them, says Anko. She knew Jiraiya was probably going to be upset that his student son won't be able to sign the Toad contract. Yes, I do and I wouldn't change it, said Naruto with pride. The two then head footsteps and turned and see Yakumo walking over to them. This didn't surprise him, since females usually had better chakra control than males. So, you finish? Asked the dango lover. Yakumo nods her head, causing Anko to smirk at the brunette, confusing the Jinjutsu user. Now let's see if your Jinjutsu is any good, said Anko. Yakumo then begins to have a feeling her sensei might try to kill her. She then remembers Kurenai telling her that best friend Anko can be quite crazy. A few weeks later, Team Anko stands in front of Itachi. They had just gotten down retrieving Tora. Usually most genin would scratched on them, but thanks to Yakumo who used her jinjutsu to make the car fall asleep, they weren't covered in scratches by the cat. As they watch as the daimyo's wife takes away the sleeping cat, Anko turns to Itachi. Hokage-sama, I want a C-rank mission, said Anko, shocking her students. Are you sure they're ready? Asked Itachi. Yes, they are ready for anything that you'll throw at them, and if they aren't, I'll kick their asses, said Anko. A black viper slithered from her sleeve. Both Sai and Yakumo shivered in fear, knowing that their sensei would beat the brakes off them, then make them pay for her dango. If you're so sure, then makes a special high C-rank mission. Aoi Rakashima, a former instructor in the Villags, had tricked a student at the academy to steal the legendary lightning chakra sword called the Sword of the Thunder God, which had once belonged to Tobirama Senju, the second Hokage, along with a secret scroll of how to use the sword at full potential. Once the sword was in Aoi's hands, he fled the country and killed the child. He is now a shinobi of Omegakure, said Itachi. Each of them narrowed their sensing the seriousness of the mission. Your mission is to head travel to the land of tea, locate him and bring back the Raijin no Ken, and bring back the scroll, ordered Itachi. And what of Sai? Shall we capture him or kill him? Asked Sai. We would like to integrate him, but if you can't, then kill him. Any more questions? Asked Itachi. Each of them shook their heads negatively. Good, if that'll all, your team can depart in 2 hours, says Itachi. Anko turns to her team. You heard the man, get your asses moving, and if one of you brats late, I'll make you run 10 marathons around the whole village. And to make sure you know I mean, I'll slip in a snake in each of your beds, said Anko. Itachi sweat drops at Anko. He then shook his head at her. Hi, sensei, said 3 children. Each of them ran back to their home, not wanting to do 10 marathons or waking up with a snake in their bed. Itachi gives Anko a deadpan look. Don't you think that's a little much? Asked Itachi with a raised eyebrow. Anko just waves off. Nah, it's fine, it's motivation, states Anko. That's a motivate, thought Itachi with a deadpan look on his face. He then gains a serious look. Tell me, how's Naruto doing? Asked Itachi. He still doesn't trust them, he only trusts me, and he also still hates people with that puppet armor he always wears. Can't tell what his facial expressions are, but I'm sure he's either glaring or snarling, said Anko. Itachi sighs at this. I thought as much. Well, that's all, you may go, and please try to get him out of his shell, says Itachi. She saluted to him with it. She shunshin away Itachi, then looks at the photos of the past cage. His eyes then focus on Minato. I promised you, Yondaime, I'll make sure your son smiles once again. I think I'll have to break Sarutobi's law. He does deserve to know, said Itachi. He then begins to think of Shisui, who also went on a C-rank mission to Wave Country. Anko smirks at her team. One was a quiet girl trained by her best friend Kurenai, the other had his mind warped by the Root, who is still recovering from being brainwashed, and last but not least is the boy who she saved from being killed, who now hates any and all humans. She snickered to herself. She really has her work cut out for her, but she knew she could get these kids to become Chunin. Each of them were gifted in their own way. As she stares at her students, she couldn't help but to grin at her students. All right, brats, are you all ready to go? Questioned the snake mistress. Staring at her students, she saw both Yakumo and Sai were carrying a backpack, but noticed Naruto isn't. The only thing the blonde puppeteer is wearing is his puppet armor. She'd figured he had his items sealed away. Other than Kugetsukai, the teen was also interested in Fuinjutsu, so he probably had it sealed inside a scroll. Hi, sensei, exclaimed Yakumo, who was excited about her first mission outside of the village walls. Yes, sensei, said Sai in a calm tone, trying to smile, but it doesn't really work for him. Winsett looked quite emotionless. I wonder if I can find books on becoming friends, thought Sai. Ever since he and the many of the children had been free, it was hard for many of them to show emotions, thanks to the influence of Danzo. Yeah, let's go, sensei. I want to test myself, said Naruto. His eye narrowed at the thought of Aoi. He didn't know the man, but the fact that the male is a traitor of the village had warned his hate. Then again, he hated people in general, but traitors, he hated them with every fiber of his being, plus the Hokage trusted them with this mission. Well, what are you brats waiting for? Move your asses, exclaimed Anko, grinning at her students who are walking through the large gates. Kitetsu and his longtime friend Izumo grinned at Team Anko. Izumo chuckles to himself, leaning against the wall. Never thought I'd see you with a Team Anko, said Izumo. The woman had never been interested in becoming a sensei until recently. The two men actually liked Naruto. They enjoyed his pranks, and his energy had never made a day went dull. They hope one day the boy can return to his hyper self. She grins at him in a not too friendly and points her kunai at his lower region. If you like, I can make you go sterile, said Anko in cheerful tone. All the color was drained from his body. Kitetsu moved far away from Izumo. He didn't want to be near an angry Anko, or one that's trigger happy. Kitetsu coughed in his hand. Anko turned to the eternal Chunin. I just saw Shisui and his team heading out a few days ago, said Kitetsu, hoping to distract her. Anko grins at this. So, I wasn't only one who took their team on C-rank mission. Well, I guess my team just has to prove we are better than Shisui-chan's team. Laughed Anko. She walks past him causing Izumo to fall flat on his butt. Kotetsu shook his head at Izumo. Man, you must have a death wish. Half-joked Kotetsu as he watches Izumo was clutching his chest. I thought was going to die. Thought Izumo, who was breathing very heavily. Kotetsu shook his head negatively at his friend. He didn't know what the man was thinking. Pissing off Anko was definitely a promise of death. Ikumo turns towards the purplinet. Anko-sensei, I was wondering. What is the land of tea like? Asked the young Jinjutsu user. It was her first time out of the village, but she had never heard of the land of tea. She honestly has no idea what kind of village is the land of tea. Anko turned towards Ikumo. It is a small country near the land of fire. It consists of two separate islands off the eastern shore, Nagi Island and Uza Island. It is unknown if this country has shinobi of their own as they hire foreign shinobi for protection. One reason for being named the land of tea could be for its tea houses. Plus the fact means Aoi is in there must mean he probably took over the village, or maybe he is blackmailing the leader. Said Anko. She personally had never met the man, but the fact that Aoi had betrayed the village had put a sour feeling in her gut. What about Aoi? Do you know anything about him? Asked Naruto. Anko shook her head negatively. No, Haruka would be better to ask. All I know about him, he was Chunin that betrayed the village much like Mizuki did. Said Anko. Anko-sensei, what about the sword of the thunder god, Raijin no Ken? All I know about the sword, it was wielded and created by Nidame-sama. Said Sai, who was drawing in his notebook. The sword itself has many uses that involved its ability to manipulate lightning. Being made of concentrated lightning, once making contact with the enemy, it would give them a strong electrical shock capable of incapacitating them afterwards. The blade is so powerful it can even cut through the lightning blade, said Anko. Her student stares at her with a blank look. What's a lightning blade? Asked Sai, who has a puzzled look. Anko sighs, her eyes glances over to Naruto before returning back to Sai. It was an A-rank assassination ninjutsu that can literally cut a lightning bolt in half. This technique was created by Kakashi Haddock, the copycat ninja, the student of the Yondaime Hokage. Said Anko. Both Ikumo and Sai flinched at the name. Hearing that was a man who betrayed the village, Anko's eyes focused on Naruto, who was trembling with pure anger. Just the mention of the name fogged his mind with pure anger. He also couldn't believe a piece of trash like Kakashi was trained by his hero Anko-sensei. Asked Naruto in an emotionless tone. Yes, says Anko. What of Yondaime's other students? Asked Naruto. If he found out the man had other students, then he would kill them too, just to be sure. If anyone was the teammate of Kakashi, then those people are just as horrible as him. Ed. Obito Uchiha had died when he saved his team from being crushed by a rock. He gave his Sharingan to Kakashi, hoping he would use it to protect his comrades. And Rin Nahara was a medic who died when she was kidnapped and killed by a group of Kurigakure ninjas. Lied Anko. Well, she was right about Rin dying, she just lied about the content of Rin's death. It is considered a S-rank secret. They were actually good people. Rin, she was good girl. She always was so kind to everyone, even to those who didn't deserve such kindness. I honestly think she born in the wrong time. I believe she was far too kind-hearted for time period back then. It was much harsher. And as Obito, surprisingly, he was the dead last of my time. Exclaimed Anko. Ain Uchiha was a dead last. Exclaimed a shocked Ikumo. Both Sai and Naruto were shocked. Yeah, I know, right? He wasn't the best student at the academy, and I heard he would always be late with his teammates, but he made up for it for his courage and will of fire. You know, he once said those who betrayed the rules are scum, but those who betray their friends are worse than scum. Said Anko. Hearing this left each of them speechless. Each of them thought the Uchiha clan members were all prodigies. She had came to being a shinobi, but the fact there was an Uchiha who didn't have the same mentality and was like many of them a person who struggled and trained just like them. He sounds like a good person. Says Sai. She nods her head with a small smile. Yeah, he actually wanted to be the next Hokage. Said Anko. She watched as Sai and Yakumo stood in shock. She supposed Naruto was shocked thanks to how rigid he had become. If those two were alive, Obito would have probably become the Goddamn Hokage instead of Itachi, and knowing Rin, she would have adopted Naruto in heartbeat. Thought Anko. After this mission she was thinking of taking her team to the Memorial Stone and the Konohagakure Cemetery. Her eyes then narrow as they went walk by fallen leaves, but these leaves weren't right for the season they are in. But instead of acting on it, she wanted to see how her students would react in their first ambush release. Exclaimed Yakumo, breaking the Jinjutsu that cast over the Manko. Smiles at this, she then jumps to trees watching her students in action. The Jinjutsu, it broke. Exclaimed an aimed ninja. Actually, at least 4 of the men were from a Megakure, with each of their 4 head protectors slashes. The other 4 are bandits. Sai summons 2 ink puma cats, shocking the rogue ninjas and bandits. WW, what the hell is that? Stuttered the man. He gasped in pain as he feels something had just been shot in the neck. He pulls out and finds a dart. He then hears one of the bandits yelp in pain, dropping his hatchet. The man moves side to side before falling. Motherfuck ugh. Groaned the man as he falls face down. Kill the brats. Yelled the man, but suddenly each of them grabs their heads in pain, falling to the ground screaming in pain. Sai then commands the two Puma car pounced on the two ninjas, pinning them to the ground. Both of ink felines placed their paws on their throat. Naruto raised his hand, fires a large barrage of poisonous darts. In matter of seconds each bandit falls to ground. Ikumo then released beer genjutsu on the two men who were sweating buckets. The two men gasp in fear. What? Exclaimed the man. What's going on? What happened to the fire? Asked the man looking around frantic. He could have sworn everything around him was on fire. Sai and Naruto turned to look at Yakumo with a questionable gaze. Yakumo blushes in embarrassment. You placed them in a genjutsu where everything is on fire? Asked Sai. Even Naruto was surprised, especially since her genjutsu can even become real, and it felt a little overkill to them. Anko jumps down smirking at each other. You three did well. Not bad for your first time. Congratulated Anko, feeling pride in her students. Most children would have froze, but not these kid. Then again her students weren't green behind the ears. Naruto had seen firsthand how cruel the world can be. Sai was trained by Danzo, so he knew of the darker side of shinobi life, along with its hidden secrets, and Yakumo was probably the most normal one out of the whole squad. She lived a normal life besides being sick and having no control over her genjutsu ability. Most genin teams would freak out. Hell, I'm sure most of them would have been frozen in fear. These kids are something special. Thought Anko. She then began to wonder how Shisui's team, but she knew whatever happened on his mission, she knew the man can handle whatever threat. He is one of the most powerful jounin in the village, but his genin team include Sasuke Uchiha, Sakura Haruno, and Shin. From what I heard, Sasuke is talented, not as talented as Itachi or Shisui. Sakura comes from a civilian family and has great chakra control, perfect for medic ninjutsu or genjutsu, and then there's Shin, Sai's brother. Thought Anko. She knew with Shisui teaching them they'll rise to new heights. Anko turns to Yakumo. Smart thing, Yakumo. Trapping them in a genjutsu. Says Anko with a grin. Yakumo blushes at the compliment. Sai, good job at capturing the ninjas, and Naruto, that brilliant work on your poison darts. You each wasted no taking out the enemy. Says Anko. Each of the children down felt pride in each other. Anko then grins down at the Omegakure ninjas, the purplinet, then lower herself to their level. She then pulls out a kunai, press the sharp weapon down on his knee, the region, making the man go pale as a ghost. Now, how about you telling dear Anko-chan what you're doing out here? Asked Anko, who has a Cheshire-like cat grin. The man gulps loudly and narrows his eyes at the snake mistress. Fuck you. You fucking leaf whore. Exclaimed the man. Unfortunately for the man, this wasn't what she wanted to hear. Is that so? Questioned Anko in a playful manner. Anko then stabbed the man in the ribs. She grins darkly as she twists the blade, causing him to fall over in pain. She then kicks the man in the chin and stomps on his chest. An audible crack can be heard. She then turns towards the other man and grabs into neck with a forceful grip. Now let's try this again. Tell me what I want or one of my snakes will give you another hole. Threatened Anko. From her sleeve a snake makes its way towards the man's neck. The snake hisses. The snake then coils itself around the man's neck, squeezing tightly. Oh okay, I'll talk, JJ, just stop. Pleaded the man. The snake returns back to her sleeve, causing the man to gasp in pain as Anko punches in the ribs, cracking a rib. Or I start breaking the next one, or of course I could have my genin here placed you in a genjutsu. Said Anko, grinning darkly at the man. Besides, in defeat we were ordered to capture of possibly kill any shinobi we come across, and if there were women we were told to capture them to be ready. Now will you let me go? Asked the man. His eyes went wide as he grabs hold of his neck, which was sliced clean up. He stares at the snake mistress with a wide-eyed, who stares at him with a dark look. BB, but why you said? Stuttered the man. Yeah, you did, but I didn't like it. Says Anko. She then sealed away both of their bodies and turned towards her team. You brats still want continue on? These guys were nothing but the grunt force. Onward, things will only get harder. Asked Anko. These two guys weren't that strong, just two chunin, but she knew whoever Aoi hired will probably be stronger. Life is hard in general. I refuse to turn back just because things got a little harder. I don't care how strong these guys are, these guys won't stand in my way. Exclaimed Naruto with conviction. Yakumo nods her head in agreement. Each of them had struggled too hard to just quit now. Sai also nods his head, giving Anko a fake smile. Naruto is right, if we turn now we couldn't really call ourselves ninjas. And if things truly get that bad, Anko-sensei can always send her snakes to Konoha asking for assistance, and the same can be said about Naruto's turtles. I fully believe we are ready. Said Sai. Ikumo nods her head. We did after all. Asked Hokage-sama for a C rank. It wouldn't look good. We requested a C rank mission, then to turn around just when it got a little hard. Said Yakumo. Anko smiles at this. The kids sure do have that will of fire, let's see if they can back it up. Thought Anko. She then loses the grin and looks at them with a serious expression. I'm positive the next shinobi won't be such a pushover. Said Anko. All three of them agreed. Each of them have heard how a simple mission can turn into a rank mission. Above a tree a small group of red insects are watching them, each big, then dispersed in small splatter of blood. But the Megakure ninjas. Somewhere in a small hut the smirking Aoi is being fed by a girl in chains. He waves her off. He then turned towards Wakunajet, a man with long brown hair that he keeps on a ponytail which reaches past his shoulders, and he has purple-colored eyes who wears monk-like clothing, which consists of a golden-colored kasaya garment over black ghost's robes. His monk attire is completed with white tabi socks and zori sandals. He wears his scratched Megakure headband around his left arm. He possesses a rare bloodline limit called Iron Bleed. Tetsu no Shiketsu, what did you see? Asked Aoi. Next to him Hisom looks at the man with curiosity. Anything we should be worried about? Asked Hisom. Bakuna shook his head negatively and grins darkly. Nah, I don't think so. The brats don't seem that special, but their Jounin sensei is Anko Mitarashi. Said Wakuna. This shocked Aoi. He never thought he would have never guessed Anko would ever take on a student. Aoi grins to himself in a dark manner. Kukuku, so the famous snake mistress is here. Well, that'll be fun. Wakuna, kill the two brats, but bring me Anko and the girl. Ordered Aoi, licking his lips in a dark and twisted manner. He knew someday he would come across a leaf ninja, but he didn't expect Anko. He was more so expecting a Biki. He did kill the man's younger brother. I'll have my fun with her, then I'll send her back to the leaf in a box. Thought Aoi with a wide grin. Wakuna nods his head. He then shunshin away. Back with Team Anko. Thank you for your time. Sorry to bother you. Said Anko, walking away from a woman. After walking away she gains a scowl on her face. She had asked several people about the missing people, and just as she feared, the people who were kidnapped have all been women ranging from the age 13 to 45. Anko walks towards a large tree where her students were talking among themselves. Did the villagers say the same thing? Asked Anko. Each of them nods. There she can see the effect it has on each of them. We know there's a pattern, but the kidnappings had all appear at random times during the day. There's even multiple kidnapping during an hour. And even when the woman is with someone, that person ends up dead. Anko-sensei, what kind of village is a Megakure? I don't recall a Megakure ever doing this. I know Kumagakure doesn't shy away from kidnapping. Question Sai, maybe learning about the culture of a Megakure might help them. Damn, I really need some sake. Thought Anko. She lets out a sigh and runs the back of her head. Well, not much is known about a Megakure, since the village is pretty well hidden. Not only that, but it is damn near impossible to enter the village. Says Anko. The village definitely earned its name, Hidden Village of Rain, for being so well hidden. Not even Jiraiya had been able to enter the village, and he has one of the greatest spy network. Really? How come? Asked Yakumo. She knew it was a village that is always reigning. It was led by Hanzo Salamander and was in the crossfire during the Second Great Ninja War, but that's about it. Honestly, I'm not too sure. You'll have to ask Tsunade or Jiraiya, but what I do, ever since Hanzo the Salamander had died, there's no information about the new leader. Hell, I'm not even sure how he died exactly. He was a man that was able to fight off the Sannin in their prime. So, to kill a man who was easily on the same level as a Kage and not even know how they died is suspicious. But from what I heard from Tsunade and Jiraiya, AIM ninja are said to be notoriously short-tempered, while their village trains them to their fullest potential, resulting in the creation of many original techniques. AIM is frequently hired for assassination missions, an area of expertise prized by many countries. Explained Anko. The knowledge she had on the village was the basic information. That sounds incredibly suspicious. Do you think a Megakure could actually behind this so they can have slave workers? Asked Naruto. After hearing from various families had made him angry at the AIM ninjas from destroying the many families and using the hostages as their plays. Think Konoha, a Megakure, it doesn't matter. Humans are still the worst no matter what village they are from, thought the blonde puppeteer. Anko shook her head at Naruto. No, I don't think so. A Megakure is a village that prefers not to be center of attention. For a village that focus straight on assassination missions, then switch to kidnapping and having a slave workers just doesn't match up. Said Anko. Plus kidnapping seems more like Kumagakure, but even that village wouldn't just kidnap people at random unless those people could increase their military power. This seems more like her old sensei Orochimaru work, who would kidnap any poor soul to use as his personal toy. Could it be possible they're gathering these people because they are planning to sell them on the black market? Asked the pale teen. That is a possibility, but we have to find someone to interrogate to find out what they are after. Says Anko. She then narrowed her eyes. Scatter. Scream Anko. All three jump back as a explosive tag kunai drops down. The kanji written in blood lights up pink color, shocking everyone. Explosive blood bomb, Bakuhatsu Kai Bakuden. Exclaimed Wakuna. The tag explodes, leaving a small crater in the ground. Anko's danger senses goes off as Wakuna jumps down with an arm blade made out of blood. He grins Ister, who just glares back. The two jump away from each other. Well, if it isn't Anko Mitarashi, Konoha's snake mistress, only student of the infamous Orochimaru of the Sannin. And two, I brought some children with you. Said Wakuna. The man kicks his lips as he stares at her large dot. Wakuna Jet Mura A rank shinobi with a special bloodline that allows you to manipulate your blood, which is how he learned the name Bloodbath of Rain. He is known for draining the blood of his victims. Everyone stay back, he's too strong for you guys. I'll handle this on my own. Hissed Anko, glaring at Wakuna. The man released killer intent which made both Sai and Yakumo take a step back. Wakuna grins at this. Suddenly blood spikes come from the ground, but a mud wall protects the children, shocking them. Anko grins at Wakuna. Do you always go after the children? Taunted Anko as a few snakes are released from her sleeve. The man chuckles darkly. Well, of course, couldn't let you get distracted, can I? Questioned Wakuna. His eyes then land on Sai, and in a burst of speed he appears in front of the teen. Before he could even rip open Sai's throat, Anko appears in front of Sai, blocking the attack with her own kunai. The man whistles. Well, you are quick on your feet, says Wakuna, grinning at Anko. I'm the one you want. So leave the kids alone. Everyone stay back, this could be dangerous. Ordered Anko. Each of the children nod in agreement and jump back away from the two jounin away from each other. Wakuna pulls out several of paper tags, throws them at her, she somersaults away, dodging the blood explosion tags. She goes through various of hand signs and puffed out her cheeks. Fire. Release. Burning snake ball, Kaiten. Moru-san Kubmaru, thought Anko. She blows out a giant fireball, taking the form of a serpent's head. Blood shield Kai no Tate. Exclaimed Wakuna. Blood then gathered around and creates a hexagon shield in front of the Omegakure shinobi. The blood takes the front of the jutsu. Wakuna grins at this. The shield of blood dispersed, and he turns the blood shield into a volley of kunai and shuriken. He hails the blood weapons at her. She creates a wall of earth. Each of the blades cut through the wall, causing it to crumble, but he saw no sign of her. He looks up as a shadow overcame him. He looks up, and his face is met with her foot. She uses her snakes to wrap them around his neck and throws him further away. Wakuna grins at her. He then creates a bow and arrow made out of blood. Crow hunter, Kurasahint, yelled Wakuna, shooting an arrow. She moved to the side, but the arrow has cut her shoulder, causing her to narrow her eyes at the sound. He then shoots various of blood arrows. Thanks to her acrobatic flexibility, she's able to avoid the blood arrows. She claps her hands on the ground, and mud bullets are launched from the ground, hitting him in the chest. Anko jumps high in air and brings her heel down. He performs a handstand and jumps away. He then performs a 160 dropkick. She raised her arms to block the attack, but is pushed back. She grunts in pain as Wakuna open palms her in the cheek. He then sends an elbow to her gut. She in return throat punches him, causing him to gasp in pain. She then jumps and kicks him in the jaw. She then somersault onto his chest and backflips away from him. He wipes away the blood and grins at her. The man charges at her, going for a straight jan. She parried this way and punched him in the ribs. She then follows up with a kick to the shin, causing him to stumble. She then trips him, but as he falls down a blood blade comes from his foot, nicking her on the cheek. His eyes widened as he feels blood on his cheek and touches and sees his very own blood and kicks it. This disturbs her team, but she does lose focus. She then kicks him in the chin, sending him high in the sky. She then follows up with snakes coming from her sleeve, wrapping themselves around him. She then launched the two higher in the sky and wraps her legs around him and performs a 360 drop to the ground. A loud crack can be heard as his back meets the ground. She then stand him through the chest. Yakumo cheers, but her cheering is put to an end when he dispersed in blood. She coughed in pain as a blood sword has been thrusted through her chest, but she dispersed in a mass of snakes. He then feels a kunai knife on his neck. He chuckles. You are good, Anko Mitarashi, just what I expect from the student of Orochimaru. Said Wakuna. She narrowed her eyes and she explodes in a cloud of smoke, revealing it to be nothing but a clone. The real Anko comes out from the earth and glares at the man. So, should we take off the kid gloves? I'm sure we've both warmed up quite enough. Said Wakuna. Anko grins at this. Hearing this shocked Yakumo, thinking the two were going all out against each other. So, they were just testing each other out, seeing just how far they are going to have to go. I'm sure Anko-sensei can defeat him. She was once an Anbu member, so she's one of the village's strongest kunoichi, but Wakuna's bloodline limit is rare. I've never heard of someone being able to manipulate their own blood. Thought Sai. He then narrowed his eyes at Wakuna. He pulls out his brush and scroll, just in case if he tries to go after him and teammates. Wakuna goes through boar, rat, dog, bird, snake, rabbit, and boar hand signs. Blood begins to collect around him, and taking the form of a blood demonic bat creature, vampiric blood beast technique, Kikitsuki Kaij Ak no Jutsu. Exclaimed Wakuna. The blood bat creature roared at her. Anko has an unreadable expression on her face. She herself goes through tiger, dog, boar, ox, dragon, rabbit, and ram hand sign, and claps her hands together. Fire release. Dragon from the mountains technique, Yamaka Raryuk no Jutsu. Exclaimed Anko, expelling an equally large flaming Chinese dragon. As the two attacks hit each other, it created a large fog. Anko uses this to her advantage and summons over a dozen of snakes. Wakuna quickly creates some blood tendrils that kills each snake. He suddenly finds himself sinking into the ground, making him click his tongue in anger. He looks up, seeing various of fireballs heading his way. He quickly creates a blood shield protecting him. Smart, using the dog and snakes to distract me. She must have trapped me in some earth jutsu, not bad Anko, not bad, thought the man. He then creates thin blood ships that latches onto her arm, cutting deep into her arm. He then launched himself out of the mud trap and straight to her. He then grins as he grabs her by the face and throws her through a tree. He then grins. She looks down, noticing her jacket is blood on it, thinking quickly she tosses the jacket off just for it to explode. She then pants in exhaustion and pain as she has a few burn marks. Fortunately she was able to avoid death, but her favorite cloak was non-existence reduced to burnt cloth. She then throws a volley of kunai and shuriken. She then releases fireballs, catching the weapons on fire and hitting their target. She's forced to drop the floor, avoiding blood sickles. Amassing a viper path, bait pasu no shk. Yelled Anko. 3 large black viper comes out of the ground, hitting him high in the sky. Each of the snakes grab into his limbs and dive bombs into the ground, creating a huge dust cloud. As the dust cloud vanishes, each of the snakes have been killed by a blood spear. He then goes through various of hand seals. He then grins at her with a wide grin. Jetm secret technique. Circulating blood of destruction, Jetm Hijutsu Junkinsuru no Hikachi. Says Wakuna. The blood then takes the form of numerous sharp edges, edge the blood, then hardened. He then sends each of the spinning disc at her. She summons a wave of serpents. Unfortunately for the snakes, each of them are cut down. Anko clicks her tongue in annoyance and summons 3 large-sized snakes to wrap around her in the hopes they will protect her. The snakes are cut down. She then gasps in pain as she's cut all over her body. Ooh ops, seems like I've cut you up too much. Oh well, it's over for you. Said Anko. She stares at him in confusion until she realized something. She's been cut by his blood. His blood, that's right, so you noticed. Jetm secret technique. Cellular destructive virus, Jetm Hijutsu. Sabem Hakai Rusu. Said Wakuna. Naruto's eyes went wide in horror. He looks between his teammates. Ikumo, Sai. Formation B. Yelled Naruto. He quickly creates a clone. The clone runs towards Anko, while Naruto and Sai chased after Wakuna. The Atagaka rogue shinobi turned towards Sai, who was rising into an ink lion. Wakuna ignores the screams of Anko as each small cut begins to release small explosions. Her screams come to a stop as he's in a field of flowers, land of paradise, Rakuin no Jai. Said Yakumo, trapping him in a genjutsu that numbs one's sense. In reality, the clone grabbed his bleeding sensei and running off. Yakumo quickly follows after the clone with Yakumo leaving. The genjutsu breaks. He stares in confusion as Sai stares at him with his tanto. He then narrowed his eyes and creates a blood arm blade. Die. You stupid brat. Yelled Wakuna, bringing the blade down, ready to cut the pale child in half. Yellow secret technique. Ninja wire performance, Kahigi. Ninja no Saim. Yelled Naruto. He shot ninja wires from his arm. The wires wrap around Wakuna's arm with a pull. The wire severs his arm, reducing his left arm to ribbons. Wakuna stares in shock. Before gaining a rated-filled look, he quickly manipulates the blood, creating a book arm. Naruto hissed in annoyance. Wind release. Falcon palm technique, Fuden. Hayabusa Tenahira no Jutsu. Exclaimed Naruto. He holds out his left hand and shots a giant air-compressed bullet that launches him through various of trees. He points both arms and shots small iron balls at him. Each of them explode, creating a giant of fire. Wakuna sniffs the air and kicks him. Tongue tsk, poison cheeky brat. Roared Wakuna. He watches as the explosions does down and disc cloud vanished. He narrowed his eyes. He then kicks the dirt, grumbling about brats. Damn it, now I'll have to go to Ishimoto. Ugh, I swear that bastard better not turn me into a freak show or I'll kill him. Jetm secret technique. Crystallized diamond technique, Jetm Hijutsu. Diamandu Kesem Kasuru. Said Wakuna. The blood around his stump of a arm crystallized begins walking back to their hideout.